It's like
I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I'm a never Trump guy.
Five if you insist.
perfect. And then Taylor,
1, 2, 3.
cool. And then Connor,
Hello, hello, hello. 1, 2, 3.
excellent. And then Jesse,
1, 2, 3.
excellent. And then David,
1, 2, 3.
awesome. All right, everybody's like basically the same point. And I'm sorry, hold on. I have to plug into the Ethernet, otherwise bad things can happen. This will be like 12 seconds.
You know, I feel very self-conscious because I'm not using like a proper mic because the whole thing collapsed on itself. So I'm like, maybe I can get away with it, and
sounds
like
good.
I can. Okay,
I
good.
literally
That's
just
not
have AirPods in and my MacBook camera. So
Okay.
We can tell with
Literally.
you, yes.
You can tell, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm in a basement. Like, it's
But
fine.
then it
We all
keeps
know it.
expectations really low. Nobody expects more than that, so it's okay. So
Perfect.
it's better.
I can
Yeah.
wow them. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to mention the basement part. I think that detracts points. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was like, I think you could tell. It's okay.
I don't know. I haven't been inside too many basements, fortunately. And
That is
by that, I
perfect.
mean, that came across like in a very
You can
different
get
way
in
than
touch with my friend. His last name's Thorpe, and
he lives in a
very
basement.
Proficient in having women in basements. With,
Yeah.
like, radiators, I think, is something.
Okay, Tom, we were on the same wavelength. That was exactly where I was going with it.
One last thing. Does anybody have a hard cutoff for time? Usually it will go about 2 hours. Okay.
11, 2 hours.
right.
But
Okay.
I'm a sleepy girl.
That's the same with me. 2
Okay,
hours.
cool. That works for me. And I'm going to go into it. So I'm going to switch us over and we'll be live. And if you have to go at any time, though, just let us know. It's totally cool. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not the left is more violent than the right. And we are starting right now with, in this case, each person will get 1 or 2 minutes to lay out their case. We're going to start with Tom, who's leaning toward the left position. Tom, the floor is all yours.
Yeah. So I think both sides, especially when it comes to political violence on the right and the left, both sides commit political violence. And I think that when it comes to instances of political violence, I think the left probably commits more instances. So if you think of all of each instance of somebody committing violence, during Black Lives Matter, or each instance of a car getting vandalized at a Tesla dealership, these are more instances of violence. But I think when we ask whether or not somebody is more violent, I think that we're generally asking about a spectrum of violence, and that when somebody normally kills somebody or murders somebody for political reasons, that this is normally what we're asking about. This is a much more violent thing to do. And so that is something that I think is much more common on the right and has been throughout most of our lifetimes. And so I would say that the right is more politically violent.
You got it. We'll kick it over to Kat.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I have to look at the data to establish whether it is right wing, more political violence, or left wing. And in fact, as Thomas said, there tends to be more instances of violence against property, so property damage, vandalism, things like that, on the left than there is on the right. But in terms of lethality, in terms of violence resulting in death, we see that number is just significantly more on the right. And, if you look at this year alone, we're seeing, unfortunately, a rise in left-wing violence as well. That is the highest number it's been in 3 decades. However, if you look at it historically, it is by far, we're seeing many more instances. So apparently about 63% of politically motivated extremist killings in the US since 1975 were caused by right-wing perpetrators, and around 10% by left-wing. So those are really significant differences. And I look forward to focusing more on that.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Connor next.
Sorry, I'm just gonna have to mute myself intermittently. That way, I don't have an echo. But yeah, so I back my team's perspective completely. If you add in the BLM riots, if you add in vandalism, if you add in Tesla, if you add in all that kind of stuff, then individual instances of violence, of course, is probably going to be through the roof. But if you're talking about violence, the left and right term actually goes back to the French Assembly, 300 years ago, where the left was representative of the people. They were the Jacobins. And then the right was representatives of the establishment, of the monarchy, of the military, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm kind of going to pull a Jordan Peterson here and be like, what do you mean? What do you mean by right? What do you mean by the left? But if by right you mean government, then yeah, the government, institutions, militias, pro-government people, they're infinitely more competent at death and killing than they are, than the left rioters. So I think that bears out historically. I think it bears out statistically. I think it's obvious, but we'll get into nitty gritty when we get into the open.
You got it. We're going to switch it over. Now for the more right-leaning position, Taylor, the floor is all yours. Thanks for being with us as well.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everyone else. So just really quick, I want to point out that if we want to look at specific instances, I would encourage the left to be clear about what data set that they're using, because many data sets have left out very clear instances of political violence perpetrated by the left, and just does not include it in their data. I'm happy to go into details in the open discussion. But if we want to get like meta and say like, well, what is the right and left? We can also just say like, what is violence and what is the culture of violence? So what is violence? Is 1 million aborted babies a year violence? Could say yes. We can also just look at which side is perpetuating a culture of violence. We want to see which side is calling people Nazis and fascists and Hitler and shutting down speaking events and assassinating people that they don't agree with. I would agree, and I think everyone agree that that perpetrates more of a culture of violence. So I would also like to talk about that, but we'll get into the details. So
Thank you very much. And Jesse, welcome. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so I would just say, in terms of framing the entire conversation, what is left, what is right, historically, is all over the place. All I care about, honestly, is minimizing violence from right now going forward. And it's really not challenging delineating left from right in the current climate when you are on social media or you're looking around. And like, if you just look at how violence happens, it is downstream from culture. And we could get into statistics about violence, but the statistics on which culture is more accepting of violence, it's not close. It's like really not close. There are polls here that I pulled up where 30% of Democrats said that they wished that Trump had been killed in Butler. I have another one here that says 23% of Democrats say that murdering Charlie Kirk was justified. I have another one that shows, I mean, it's like these stats to me seem totally insane. Like these are the kinds of things I look at. I'm like, I can't even believe that these are real. But, just to compare political ideology in terms of most Americans say it's unacceptable to be happy about other's death. But when asked very liberal people that question, 24% said that it was acceptable to be happy about a public figure's death, when 4% of conservatives and 3% of very conservatives said the same thing. So, to me, I saw a statistic that 50% of Democrats said that they would be happy if Trump was dead. 45% would be happy if Elon Musk was killed. And everybody that had two eyeballs and ears watched the reaction to Charlie Kirk getting killed and the number of people who went online and celebrated it. Like, that's psychopathic to me. There is not one person on the left, whether I disagree with every single thing that they stand for, and certainly not a political figure like a president, where I would feel exactly the same if Joe Biden had gotten assassinated as if Donald Trump got assassinated. It'd be identical to me. So I would say the culture, it's a tough position to argue against.
You got it. Thank you very much, Jesse. And then we'll kick it over to David, more on the right-leaning side.
Cool. Let me just point out the fact that all of them admitted, our opponents admitted that the left commits more instances of violence. So pretty much they are already conceded that point. So what we are arguing then is who committed the most heinous, violent acts, I would say. And we can get into that. But I would like to say that, if we're being honest, the right and the left wing are both violent. I would say that the left has more of a propensity towards violence because the feminists on that side view things from a oppressor versus oppressed lens, and also a large portion of the Black community views it that way as well, with the victim mindset. So if your ideology is composed around, well, you're being oppressed, then the natural tendency is to feel like you have to defend yourself. But if it's just a feeling and not facts, then you're actually on the offense. But I'm more than happy to get down to the nooks and crannies on everything, and let's have a good debate.
You got it. Thank you very much. Couple of quick housekeeping things. First, folks, for the Q&A at the end, want to remind you to keep the questions on the actual topic, as well as quick housekeeping thing. First, folks, if you haven't heard about it, if you've been living in a cave on Mars with your fingers in your ears, Modern Day Debate's own conference, DebateCon 6, is happening in Nashville, Tennessee this weekend. Get your tickets, linked in the description box below. You can see the promo poster at the bottom right of your screen. It's going to be our biggest conference yet. I can tell you, based on tickets sold, it is record-breaking so far. We're expected to sell out. Grab your tickets now. With that, we're going to jump into the open dialogue. Does anybody have anything from anybody else's opening where you're like, I really want to know? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious. Connor, let's get it rolling.
Yeah, so I think that we need to differentiate the stats for what Jesse said. And what I would be curious is how those questions were phrased. Because, for instance, if Donald Trump had been killed in Butler, Pennsylvania, I think that would be bad. I think it'd be bad for the country. I think it would normalize political violence and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't cry over it at fucking all, okay? And this is where I kind of get frustrated with the conservatives is extrajudicial violence is what we're talking about. Extra legal violence is what we're talking about. And we can probably all agree that that's bad. But then when the left wing, because they're bleeding hearts, come to you with legal violence or legal death, you guys can be very abrasive about it. As an example, screwing over Ukraine the way that we did, having JD Vance backstab Ukraine and us cut off aid to Ukraine that arguably killed thousands or tens of thousands of innocent Ukrainian civilians. Nobody on the right wing gives a shit about that. PEPFAR being cut, which is 0.16% of the federal budget. It costs $6.5 billion in order to run. That got cut. That's projected to kill 3 million people over the next 5 years. I can't get a single conservative to give a shit about that because they're not Americans. So they're not real people. So they did, who cares if they die? So this whole like moral frogging over, oh, if Trump gets shot, you're not crying. Yeah, you're right. I'm not, because Trump arguably has killed millions and definitely hundreds of thousands of people through incompetence and stupidity.
I would love to take that one.
You bet.
So my entire position on this could be summed up literally by just quoting everything that he just said. And I'd be like, there you go, right there, which is that the left's position is that Trump and anybody who supports Trump are so abhorrent that they don't care if they get murdered. Like, I don't look at the country that way. I look at it like the left is a bunch of people I disagree with who I think have, currently, are very confused about what real violence is. They also think that that's a big part of it as well. It's like where, I don't understand. How could anybody say that, like, it's okay for people to laugh about a guy who gets murdered at the Butler rally in front, and his corpse falls on his kids and his wife, and they're like, fuck, F that guy because he's at a MAGA rally. Like, wait, hold on.
But I want you to deal with what I just said, okay? Because what you're saying is a guy gets shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, a firefighter gets shot and he's dead, and people are callous about his death, okay? What I'm telling to you is that through Trump's incompetence, there are hundreds of thousands or millions of people who are dying. And
Prove it.
that is like water off of a duck's ass. And even
It's-
in your own response, you're just like, oh, well, I only care about this level of death. I don't, like you didn't even address the fact that I just told you the Trump administration is responsible for hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of preventable deaths. You didn't even acknowledge it.
I didn't acknowledge that because we could play that game all day with every politician in the history of the world. Like, oh, Biden did blah, blah, blah. He's responsible for this. Blah, 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 blah. It's about how our side reacts to those things. If you're telling me that you think that there is an administration in the history of America that we couldn't play they sent this money over to this country and they used that money to murder blah, 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 blah. And if they cut this thing, then this many people died. Like
This is uniquely bad.
I
do wanna- hold on one sec.
Every single time.
I do want to jump in just because I know Connor, one of the things that Connor brought up as well, and that I'm curious about is he had asked about the wording of some of these surveys. I don't know if you have it offhand. I don't expect you to have all these printed and laying in front of you, Jesse. But Connor, it sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying in reference to the surveys, I would be curious about it because if you ask me, do I think that assassinating political figures is good? The obvious answer is no. And I think the basically 95% of the country is going to answer it, including like socialists and communists and revolutionaries. They're probably still going to say that in general, political assassinations are bad. But if you say, hey, are you going to mourn the death of Donald Trump or JD Vance or Elon Musk? The answer is going to be no. And I include myself in that.
Sometimes the framing from what I've seen has been things like, do you feel it's ever justified, to remove somebody, for their actions or for, the threat that they possess, right? And if that's not specific enough, that could take, if somebody asked me that question, while I'm very, very, very anti-violence, but if we're talking about, a dictator of a country, my answer to that is probably going to be different than, just
we can all come up with
democratically elected. Yeah.
We can all come up with the extremities. Pol Pot, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler. Those are all people who, if they were extrajudicially assassinated, it would probably be a net good on society.
Back to the survey, though.
So the survey, the way it's framed is this. It says, is it acceptable to be happy about a public figure's death? And then 24% of liberals said yes, 4% of conservatives, and 3% of very conservatives.
But I think even within that
But that is
questionnaire,
very different than thinking it's justifiable, though. And that is something that we see more often on the right. Is that when
No, they said happy.
shootings happen,
Oh,
or
okay.
yes, happy, yes, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Is that being happy about like the outcome of something doesn't mean that you're actually encouraging it. So like it's rare that Democratic leaders or even like podcasters or politicians are using violent rhetoric, but it is common that somebody like Donald Trump says, we should punch that guy. The police should be more violent with these people. And then even when it comes to protests like January 6th, more than 25% of the of Republicans believe that January 6th rioting was justified, whereas
And many
I think it's
people
less than 10% of liberals thought that BLM rioting was justified. So they not only engage in it, but then justify it afterwards, whereas liberals don't justify it, but they might be okay with it and like think it's or be happy about it.
These are
I
actually
also
straightforward. Like these are real straightforward. Like,
Okay,
the one
but I
about,
also wanna
Donald Trump being
call-
killed, the
One
way it was-
sec.
I want to
just-
call
It's not
baloney.
straight-
I do want to hear.
Can
I do
you-
want to hear from Jesse though, because we did hear from 2 or so of you.
Yeah,
Well,
Joe,
but I
the
wanted
way
him
it
to
was
actually
framed
respond to what
was-
I'm saying, the difference
Wait,
between
well, hold on.
justifying it and being happy about it.
Sure.
Okay, let's
So
hear
what
from
the
Jesse.
question was, do you agree with this statement? Quote, I wish Trump's assassin hadn't missed. And 1/3 of Democrats said agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for sure.
Is it
How is
yeah,
that
like, so
not
you guys are in that
justifying
group.
it? How is it not justifying it? I think,
Like-
Tom, you said something like, well, happiness. These the leftists can be happy about it, but that doesn't mean that they're not justifying it. That doesn't mean that they're not encouraging it. But you would have to, what's the delineation then between being happy about something and speaking openly happy about it? Like, yeah, I'm happy that this happened. Then justifying it. What's that delineation? I guess
Yeah.
the distinction between the two.
I think it was
obvious.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it was
Sure.
quite disgusting to watch, obviously, how people were so gleeful about, say, the murder of Charlie Kirk, or when there was an attempted assassination of Trump, where I would say there is a distinction, though. And by the way, I've certainly seen some of these sentiments on the right towards left figures as well. For example, when Nancy Pelosi's husband was bludgeoned, there was all this like crazy rhetoric as well. But I will concede that the reaction was really awful. However, at the same time, if we're talking about figures on the left who were representatives of the party, significant people who are members of institutions, they immediately renounced very clearly all political violence. We didn't necessarily see that same action on the right.
Want to hear from
That's not
Connor?
Yeah.
But I also want to hear from Taylor at some point too. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to drag it back to the question, and I wanted to call baloney on it. Okay. If this was asked within the past year, okay, then everybody was thinking Trump when they answered this survey. And I guarantee you, if you actually thought, oh, crap, sorry, I hit a button. Can you come back to me? I literally just hit a button.
Basically, what you're saying is you're saying, well, the left, we didn't encourage it, so therefore it's not just, we didn't justify it. But some of the people on the left were, a lot of them were definitely happy about these certain deaths and these BLM riots and things like that. They were happy about it. I'm asking you, what's the delineation between happiness? Like someone is saying that they're happy about it, you're watching these videos and they're saying like, oh yeah, I'm glad this happened. How is that not encouraging it? Which is, how is that not justifying the death of these things?
Are we gonna so when we say that words are violence, for example, this is where it becomes sort of tricky, because I've heard, I mean, in terms of
I didn't say words are, you're manning my position. I didn't say words are violent. I'm asking you, actually, before I do so, still man my position so you understand. I don't know if you understand. Still man.
No, I understand your position that the culture in which people encourage and laugh at somebody's death or are gleeful about it is an environment where it might be easier to take somebody's life, right? That's essentially your position. Am I correct?
Yes, but what I'm saying is the position to make it clear is that in itself, those people would be justifying it. What you're doing,
I think
All right, guys. Sorry if you can hear me. I just I have my 3 monitor setup, which again I need to increase to my 4 monitor setup. But basically, what happened was I clicked a button shutting down the monitors, the multi-monitor setup, and then it reset up, so I couldn't get to you guys. Excuse me. I couldn't get to you guys. And I know I need to mute you. Otherwise, we're going to have redundant audio, and it's going to sound awful. So, sorry. Sorry. Do you have one button that could fuck your whole shit up? Because I'm a boomer. Oh, I don't even want that one. Stop screen, presenter invite. Because I'm an idiot. How about that here, Shot? You ever think about that? You ever think that maybe I'm dumb? You ever think maybe I'm a total dumbass? Get the self video off the side. I can't and retain audio on StreamYard. Sorry, dubious gal. You're losing the debate. I'm losing the debate by not being there. I tell you what. So, where's Twitter? Not yet. Exactly. I am a former Marine. I am dumb as shit. So, you good, bro? No. So, sorry for leaving you in purgatory. Allegedly. Here we go.
It comes to that kind of scale. So,
I
but
believe
it
you.
doesn't mean, okay.
I believe you that you think that. I do.
Okay, I do.
But the problem
Yeah, I
is
do. I
that
believe
you're
you that you-
saying, though, that just saying that, like, you condemn the violence, but you thought he was a bad person, that, like, this is when conservatives are running around trying to rewrite the history of Charlie Kirk, like you guys are doing right now, trying to say, oh, he never said that, when he explicitly said he thought
But
the
who
Civil Rights
cares,
Act
Tom?
was
What's
a
the
mistake.
point? So he
You
deserves to
cared.
get
You
killed?
brought it up.
Who-
You
who
cared.
deserves
No,
to
no.
get
You
killed?
brought it up.
Hold
What
on
do you
one
mean?
sec.
You
One sec.
fucking
You're
brought
the
it
one
up.
doing
You
part-
cared.
Let's okay. We heard you say you care. Let's go to Taylor.
But real quick, is that so? If he said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake because, and then lays out the reason that he is arguing that it was a mistake, and it's this, and then AOC says this is a man who said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake, the act that gave Black Americans the right to vote. Is that an honest way to present that, or is that an overt intentional lie?
Yes, I think he is purposefully being dubious in the way that he presents it, because he doesn't have a problem with the Civil Rights Act. He has a problem with the application and Supreme Court decisions made later on. He doesn't have an issue with the Civil Rights Act, but he does explicitly say numerous times that he has an issue with the Civil Rights Act. And
I'm
thinks
talking
it was
about
a
how
mistake.
AOC presented it. Was that an honest or intentionally dishonest way?
As honest.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Rewriting
sure
it
then
up
if
and
that's
twisted.
honest, then, what about the stuff that he said about, I'm sure you'll probably take this out of context when he said, if he walked into an airline and he's seeing a black pilot, he would probably question if the black pilot was qualified. You would probably have an issue with that too. You think that he's racist because, he said that, he would question the pilot's qualifications.
Well,
What's
he's
your take on
assuming
that?
that they are
Because there
DEI
weren't different
hires.
qualifications
Oh,
for
oh,
DEI
there
hires,
you-
so that's why there were
That
not
is
different
exactly what he was-
qualifications.
the
So
point he
yes,
was
that
making.
is racist, of course.
I do want to.
So that is racist. Okay, gotcha.
If there's
So
not different
that-
qualifications
okay,
for DEI hires, so yes, of
so
course.
But does
why-
it
I wanna-
matter whether we
I wanna-
hate
hold
him
on
or
one sec.
like him? Yeah.
I do want to give David a really quick chance, but then I do have to redirect us. The only
Yeah, we can
reason is
redirect it. We need to speak
back to
about
violence
violence
per se.
instead of talking about violence.
is-
Yeah. So that's funny because I'm a black man and you're white, but somehow you're saying that, well, I felt that he was racist. How did you
I didn't say
feel?
feelings.
Well, how are you? How else can you
Straw
say
manning?
that something is racist if you're not interpreting it through a feelings lens?
Why don't you steal man his argument?
Yeah, first off,
I'll
your
still
identity
man his
politics about
position.
you being black makes absolutely no
No,
fucking
I'll
difference. to
I'll
me.
still man a position perfectly here. This is what I'm saying. So you took that statement out of context. We were just speaking about the situation with Charlie Kirk and with the but now we're currently speaking about Charlie Kirk and the whole DEI thing. I think Kate, you said that, well, his reasoning for it was DEI. But then Tom, you said that, well, his justification for saying that, well, he would question the qualifications of if he's seen a black pilot. Are you not saying that he doesn't have a reason for saying it and it's DEI?
Yes, I'm saying that he is purposely misrepresenting DEI so that he has
Okay.
the ability.
And
to
do you
question a black
know
person's
the
qualifications.
context behind it all? Because it was a video that was played and it was pilots. I mean, not pilots. It was many airlines. And they were saying that they were going to make 50% of their staff women and different races. So if you're going to make 50% of your staff women and different races, including pilots and air traffic controllers, everything, that's the agenda, then, well, I mean, we should question the qualifications. Like,
I
how are
think
you going to
Somebody
get
actually said that. I
50%?
have trouble believing. that
Yeah,
it was actually-
yeah.
Or-
And,
or
and this is
you-
what Charlie Kirk was
don't think that that was
responding
said.
to. That's
Yeah.
what he responding to. He was responding to airline a CEO of an airline saying that, yeah, I'm going to make 50% of my staff different races and different and half of them women. So therefore, the logical entailment would be, well, I would question a woman if she was flying a plane. I would question an Asian, a black man. I would question everybody.
What
Yeah,
about
so,
a
like, to
white
make
man
it,
who
like,
has
to-
nepotism on their
The
side?
simplest way to look at this one though is imagine you just take race and gender out of it. And you go, okay, so American Airlines decided that they want 50% of their staff to be under 5'8" and blonde. And then so you sit down and some dude who's 5'4" and blonde comes in and they're like, hello, I'm your captain today. You're not going to be like, oh, and they said that they were going to reduce the qualifications. So you're not going to think to yourself like, shit, I hope this guy knows how to fly a plane, man. Cause I know they just reduced the qualifications. That's the point. It has nothing to do with race. It's about the fact that there are like physical identifiers that indicate that they might not be qualified because they announced it. They're like, the qualifications are going to be
problem is
reduced.
that if you
What I-
actually
It was many
I agree with
airlines too,
majority of the
United.
people
Yeah,
who
yeah,
don't
yeah.
get the job were qualified as well. And so
I
the
have to-
majority of the people who get the job, who
I-
don't get it. Yeah.
I do want to go back
That's a
to
good
violence.
point. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Please
Is there-
focus.
Yeah.
Are there any topics that we haven't covered from anybody's opening that someone said this? Oh wait, I think someone had a bone to pick with Taylor, but did you feel like you got to address that? Someone had something you disagreed on from Taylor's opening, but I think we got to cover it a bit.
Well, I think one thing that we discussed a little bit that we should probably refine, because when we were discussing instances of violence, well, everything is sort of lumped into this one category. So whether property damage is not great, but it isn't the same as taking a life. And, to me, that kind of violence is a lot more sinister and dangerous and obviously takes lives, right? And we've seen a lot of that. There's been, so in terms of data from 2016 to 2025, right-wing political violence resulted in about 112 deaths, and there's been 13 on the left. And, we are seeing a rise, and we're seeing, in general, like we're also seeing a lot of not a lot, but we're seeing some lone wolf kind of non-affiliated violence as well. For example, something like the assassination of the healthcare CEO. I don't think you can place it on the right or the left necessarily. You also have situations in 2025, certain topics coming up, like Trump, deportations, which is causing some of this like left-wing violence. We could talk about that perhaps.
Thoughts?
I mean, the one thing I was just going to comment on related to like the healthcare CEO, I can't remember whatever his name is, and just the big it's honestly, this is actually not meant to be any form of debate. I just wanted to point out how stupid I think it is that the immediate reaction of everyone is to try to identify what political affiliation these shooters have. I always think that's so dumb. I'm like, that person's crazy. Like, that person's not a Republican or a Democrat. That's a crazy person that did that.
But you see
know?
that all
Like,
the time where people
I know,
try
it's a
to
no,
do that.
every
I
time.
agree with you. Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time. And it's like, and it seems like it almost feels intentional how ambiguous it is sometimes. Like, where you'll have like the shooter in Minnesota that shot the Democrat, the state, I think they're state senators or whatnot. And it's like, I can't remember, you have a witness. It's like, oh yeah, this guy loved Alex Jones, but he was on a commission appointed by Tim Walz. And then he has, but then I end up being proven right, because in his manifesto, he is a crazy person. Like, he's a crazy person. He's neither.
I think
But it does
most
seem
of
like-
these people would just be crazy people. And at the end of the day, it becomes a bit like, okay, who has more crazy people? And by the way, I don't think that like, because you have like these right-wing extremists, that's like representative of the right wing necessarily, but that just seems to happen more. And so what really pissed me off when I was watching, why I'm even part of this debate, is like when certain things had happened that were, acts that were committed on the left or just committed by crazy people, whether they're left or right, there was this like, immediate kind of way of condemning the left for it. Like, and then there was this debate of like, who commits violence more? I'm totally fine with saying they're just crazy individuals. And I don't think the left or the right is like fully responsible for these crazy individuals. They're just crazy. I mean, to commit an act like that
I couldn't agree. I couldn't disagree with Kay or Jesse on fire more. I think this is absolute cope. I'm sorry. Luigi Mangione, the reason why people characterized him as left-wing is because he was we have one of the most convoluted healthcare systems on the planet. It's something that the left wing cares about passionately. Once the CEO was assassinated, who was cheering? It was lefties online. So actually, I would safely categorize that as a lefty. And then same thing with, so for instance, jihadist terrorists. Sorry, real quick. In the 2010s, I'm getting old. So in the 2010s, jihadist terrorism was super prevalent with the rise of ISIS. I would never say, oh, it's just a bunch of crazy lunatics. No, they're not claiming any kind of ideological bias. There's nothing correlated with the rhetoric that's leading to jihadist
That's different
terrorism.
when it's an organization, though. That's
but they
not
weren't,
the same
they
as
weren't
an
an
individual.
organization. I live in Central Florida. Pulse nightclub is around a half hour away from my house. Pulse nightclub was a jihadist terrorist, but it was a lone wolf jihadist terrorist. And then people were trying to make excuses for him being a jihadist, and they were saying, oh, it's because he was like internally homophobic to his own homosexuality. And listen, the reason why we care about the ideologies of violent people is because we have stochastic rhetoricians. Tucker Carlson can't pronounce that word, but I can pronounce that word. Stochastic, meaning that they logically lead their audience right up to the precipice of violence. And then they stop right there, like right at the legalistic where they're about to say, hey, you should go outside and do X, Y, and Z. They lead people up to that logically, and then they back away because they know that will get them into legal trouble. And that is
So then
true.
And that's the right. You're saying
I'll
that's
finish it
the
in 10
right
seconds, I
that does
promise.
that.
That's true of jihadist imams. That's true of dissident right-wing freaks. That's true of far leftist communist revolutionaries. That's why we categorize. That's why we care.
So then, wouldn't by that logic, then whenever somebody commits an act of killing, an act of terror, are the individuals that are cheering for that act, are they then responsible in part for it? Because then, the other side would then have that point, right?
Well, no, because what I think that we would do in a healthy society, so let's say that we were actually a healthy society, then let's say that Taylor, Cooley, and Jesse were like, damn, there's 3 relatively reasonable debate opponents who are totally callous to the death of Donald Trump. Why is that? That's kind of fucked up. And then you could realize, like, our complaints about the Trump administration, they're not rooted in bullshit, and they kind of need to be addressed. But instead, what we do is we go, oh, your side is delusional. Your side is crazy. Your side doesn't know what it's talking about. As a result, I can dismiss everything you say. And that's currently our political dynamic is fuck the other side.
But the other sides, like, their complaints aren't, and that is kind of the point, is that when we look at a lot of these manifestos, we're seeing people who are, quoting the, Hunter Biden's laptop, or Pizzagate, QAnon, Epstein's Island, like all of these, like, you know, conspiracy theories that the right
Which
builds up,
shooter
that
are you
Donald
referencing?
Trump will push that. Well, so there is not specific shooters. So like some of them were shooters, like the Pizzagate shooter, the guy who went to the actual pizza parlor. Then there was also the guy who attacked the Pelosi's, who was talking about, like, you know, laptops and, you know, the getting like Epstein's list and shit like that.
That guy lived
There's-
in a bus in Berkeley. Like that guy is
and
that guy's
then we can go
1,000
on
miles
to
from right
Donald
wing.
Trump also saying that the 2020 election was stolen and having a bunch of people rush the Capitol. Like the conspiracy theories that they come up with are very extreme and move people to action. Whereas, and that is the type of rhetoric that Trump uses as well. He's encouraged people to punch other people at rallies. He's, you know, I said earlier, he's encouraged like ICE officers and military agents to be more violent with people that they're arresting. You know, like he says things like when the looting starts, the shooting starts, like he is constantly kind of pushing for more violence from people. And that is the type of, following that he cultivates.
Did you guys see that the lead person at the BBC got fired because they uncovered that they had intentionally deceptively edited a quote from Donald Trump at that thing? And just take
They
take
didn't say
that,
intentionally, but yeah, that is bad.
take that and then multiply it by 20 million times that has happened over the last 10 years. And that is basically where everyone is okay with Donald Trump getting shot in the head, is because they have been mind effed by constant bombardment of misrepresented stuff that is meant to dehumanize him, dehumanize his followers. Like that's the whole point. Like, I agree with counterpoints that it's like 24%. Yeah, they're thinking about Trump. I agree with you. And like, that's like, you got, look at Virginia in the attorney general's race, just elected Jay Jones after the guy had his text messages leaked. Let me read these to you, dude. Like the Democrats voted this guy into office. Okay. And his text messages literally said that he wanted Gilbert's wife to have her children die in her arms because the guy's a Republican and he wanted him to change his mind on policy. Gilbert, by the way, just had to resign as U.S. attorney because he refused to cooperate with the Trump administration and indict people in the Russiagate thing. Like, he's not some like crazy MAGA guy. He's like a Republican. You guys would, if this was in some other thing, you guys been like, that's finally a Republican that has some, has a little bit of character. He stood up to the Trump administration. But the guy, Jay Jones, was talking about that dude when he said, if I had 2 bullets and it was Hitler, Gilbert, and Pol Pot's, I'd give Gilbert 2 bullets to the head. And then she gave him 15 opportunities to say he was joking, and he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. Like that dude, I've never seen anything like that where a person didn't immediately drop out of the race, and the Democrats didn't even pull their endorsements from him.
Yeah,
and he
lost no
won.
endorsements. And
He
he won,
won.
and he lost no endorsements. That's your
Okay.
parties. You want leaders
I want-
condoning violence. There you go.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Give a point.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So okay. In an ideal society, Jay Jones would not hold power, okay, because of what he said. However, we're not in an ideal society. And by the way, this is what pisses me off about what you just said. You said, the left, anybody who hates Trump just has TDS. I'm sorry. I was raised Republican. I consider myself philosophically a Republican, which means that I believe in a republic. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. He alleged fraud that he has had 6 years to prove. When he did not get Bill Barr, his DOJ, what his attorney general said, you don't have a case here. This is all bullshit. And he went with a lawyer named Scott Eastman who said, hey, guess what? The vice president counting votes, that's not a ceremonial role. You can actually toss out the votes of the states that are in contest, and you can just seize power. And this all came down to the vice president of the United States, Mike Pence, somebody with conservative bona fides that are unimpeachable. There is not a more conservative human being inside the United States besides Mike Pence. And Mike Pence said, you know what, at the last second, fuck you, I'm not destroying this republic. And so the fact that you guys have, you have a clip from The Office of a state attorney who, by the way, I'll say again, should not have a job. But if you remember from The Office, it's Toby, Hitler, and somebody else, I would shoot Toby twice. That's the exact joke. I've made that joke before. Now, this guy's not joking. He's an asshole. He shouldn't have a fucking job. Your party, and it's not even party because I don't even consider MAGA Republicans. MAGA and Donald Trump almost destroyed a 250-year-old fucking republic, and you give a shit about some dickhead's text messages? What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with MAGA?
This is what I'm talking about, dude. We're talking about violence, and you're talking about 2020, dude. I don't want to.
Wait.
No.
No. You almost destroyed the Republic of the United States. It being 5 years ago has nothing to fucking do with how serious of an indictment that is.
Should I start talking about how I get mad when people wear fucking high tops when they play basketball? You're talking about something that has nothing to do with the conversation. We're talking about violence.
No. This is why we don't care. This is why we don't care when some random dickheads get shot. Nobody cares about Ashley Babbitt.
No, I know.
Ashley Babbitt. Nobody cares about Ashley Babbitt getting shot who's never Trump. And the reason why is because she was a riotous insurrectionist who was a part of your team who broke into the Capitol. Nobody gives a fuck about her getting shot because you played with fire and you got burned.
Dude. This is you losing the argument.
No, it's not.
Literally, this is you losing the argument.
No, it's not.
We literally have Donald Trump saying when
we're talking about
saying I don't give a shit when MAGA people get smoked. What are you talking about?
Hold on one sec. I do want to just, I think, Taylor, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, why would we take anything you say seriously that you care about violence if you just say you don't care about this girl's death because of X, Y, or Z? You don't care about her politics. What a joke. You have absolutely no regard for human dignity. You're you're changing the freaking subject every 5 seconds. We talked about the Attorney General text. You say, well, in a perfect situation, that would have happened, but blah, 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 Trump 2020. Like, that's not an argument, dude.
Number one, it is. And number two, I like righteous violence just fine. So
how do you
and when you justify violence by
wait.
Yeah.
No. You guys are so dense. It's like talking to a different species. Do you like it when cops arrest criminals?
Yep.
That's violence, dumbass.
So your argument is
do you think it's okay that Kyle
Trump and Trump supporters
one sec,
equivalent to criminals that are
do you like it when the United States military kills jihadists?
Right.
That's violence.
I'm steel manning your argument.
Okay, go for it. I'll listen.
Trump and his supporters do not deserve to have the empathy or concern of other Americans that they disagree with them because they're equivalent to convicts. That's literally what you just said.
Yes, I just said that if you try to destroy the Republic of the United States, you're an enemy of the United States and you don't deserve my sympathy. I don't want you to be killed. I don't want you to be killed. I don't want you to be assassinated. It's probably about 25 to 30% of the country feels the way you do. I don't think 30% of my country getting wiped out is a good thing. But if you try to overthrow the Republic of the United States and you get shot, I don't give a fuck.
How do I feel?
I don't know. How do you feel? Hold on. When I brought up January 6th, you said it was 5 years ago. It was too old to care about. How do you feel?
No. I was pointing out that your argument has nothing to do with the current argument. I was wrong, though, because you were losing the argument and proving my point that you're trying to justify violence.
I'm not
because you're on the other side. You're
wait. Hold on. We'll see if we disagree.
About anything except violence.
No. We'll see if we disagree.
Not deserving of empathy.
If the House of Representatives, is the Congress, is conducting their legally responsible duties, and you're a part of a riotous mob breaking into the Capitol, should law enforcement shoot you?
I don't know.
That's mind-blowingly
stupid. Lost the debate.
I want to give Tom a chance.
Counterpoints lost the debate. You don't know. You have
wait. So to win the debate on which side is more violent, I should be willing to acknowledge when it's okay to shoot people. I just want to make sure I understand your argument.
Yes, you should understand righteous and unrighteous violence. Yes.
You should be willing to defend people like Kyle Rittenhouse when he has to stop people.
Oh man, that's gold, dude.
Willing to defend like our own military stopping people from invading. Right. You should be willing to defend that there are justified actions in violence that are okay, and that sometimes, yes, if people are running inside the Capitol, that makes sense. That yes, they might use violence, just as Donald Trump says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Somehow that's okay, and we can vote for that motherfucker. But when people are running inside the Capitol by the tens of thousands, no, that's how could you shoot one of those?
It's funny because what about May 29th through May 31st in 2020, where Black Lives Matter, they had a rally and the rally turned into a riot and they attacked the White House, injuring over 60 law enforcement officers. with using some lethal weapons and stuff like that too. And they were chanting, "We have to remove Donald Trump from office." So I know you guys want to focus on, January 6th and stuff like that, but no one speaks about May 29th.
No, we acknowledge.
Wait,
that.
you
It's
don't know who
justified
you're
to tens of
talking to.
Thousands of people. It
Yeah,
wasn't
you
tens
don't
of
know who
thousands
you're
of people.
talking to.
We all denounced all of that. Like again, like
So you
if
denounce all of
Counterpoints and
that?
we were both
100%.
Republicans our
You
entire
denounce
fucking
all of that.
lives.
Okay.
And it is just Donald Trump that makes us vote for Democrats now. But yes, we denounced the BLM riots. We denounced if that was kind of part of the BLM riots as well. But yeah,
And also
we
the
voted
car
for
attacks
all
on
of
the protesters at the BLM riots.
Well,
that
but
was
even
also
the
happening
Tesla-
at the
Okay,
same
you
time.
Even the
guys may
Tesla
denounce it, but
damage
there's many
damages
left
to the
wingers that
cars.
don't denounce it at all. They think that it's actually
The
a good thing.
violence. I mean, I think a lot of people think that the BLM activities
that
were
the
good.
BLM riots was
the
justified.
peaceful. No, they think the peaceful. There are some people who think it's justified, but
I would say that
but
a
a
lot
lot
of
of-
people.
most people
Again,
don't
it
think the
was less than
violence was
10%
justified.
of liberals, well, less than 10%
I'll
of
demonstrate
liberals
it.
thought that rioting was justified, whereas over 25% of Republicans thought that January 6th was justified. So there is a massive difference.
And the people who committed
wait,
crimes on
wait.
January 6th have been pardoned, which shows to me that there isn't really a regard for crime and punishment in this situation. So the
And the
violence
BLM
act.
rioters already.
Oh.
I'm not
averaged
talking about
50%.
just-
I wanna go-
Because on January 6th, they went into the Capitol and didn't do anything.
One sec, sorry guys.
No, some of them
I-
did do
January
things.
6th.
Some of
What
them were
did they
involved
do?
No,
in
but
violence.
25% of Republicans said that January 6th was justified. Where's that poll?
I'll grab
Like
it.
the rioting at January 6th was justified, because that's not the position of the Republicans at all. The Republicans
Yeah.
are saying that it would, like, every single Republican that I know thinks that their argument on January 6th is that the feds entrapped people, incited the violence, invited people into the thing as a justification to kick Donald Trump off of social media and then block his ability to run again.
Yeah,
The
which is like
Republican
the
side is not
dumbest,
like, yeah, they wanted,
most
yeah, riot is
inane
not in
cope
place.
I've ever heard in
Every
my entire
person,
life.
every
Yeah,
single
yeah.
Republican that
The
I have ever
election's
listened to
been
has said,
stolen.
One sec.
We're about to
So,
lose our republic.
I have the
but don't
poll.
do anything about it.
I do. Hold
Yeah,
on one
okay.
sec. Tom says he has the poll.
Yeah, so
Go
it's
ahead, Tom.
from The Economist. It says that 27% of Republicans either strongly or somewhat approved of the riot on January 6, 2021.
yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that poll for sure.
This is The Economist and YouGov.
Okay, and I'm
Approved
sorry.
of the
so hold on.
riots.
I want to call bullshit on
This
this
was
real
done
quick.
in
Okay,
2023.
So the narrative for January 6, 2021 was the Democrats have stolen the election. Using COVID as a pretext, they have stuffed the ballots. They have ballot harvested. They've lied. They've stolen identities. They've done this. They've done that. And as a result, this is not only that the election is stolen, it is outcome determinative. It's not a few hundred people. It's not a few thousand people. This changes the landscape of the election, and Donald Trump should still be in power. And so Donald Trump himself, in his own speech on that day, said, you have to go down and you have to make your voices heard. You have to get Mike Pence to do the right thing,
But he
or
said
else you're
peacefully
not
and
going to have a
patriotically, Connor.
republic anymore. We're going to be a dictatorship. We're going to be a banana republic. And what you think, or what you think a lot of conservatives think, is that it was feds who baited them into attacking the Capitol, not the president of the United States, the largest authority figure in the United States, saying that if they don't act now with immediacy and urgency, they are going to lose a 250-year republic, which he still has not proven the outcome determinative fraud 6 years later, in court, out of court. That's the bullshit you're going with? For real?
I feel like I should just point out that the conversation is which side is more violent, and I was saying
We're
that
talking about the
no Republicans
justifications
agree
for your
with
violence.
it
We're talking about
being
the-
an
Hold on,
acceptable
just to
riot.
Just to
It
hear
was
from
all, we're talking about whether or not they believe it was all feds, because you're saying they all think it was all feds. He's saying, no,
No,
You
Donald
said
Trump
when we
literally
were
told
violent,
My
us-
point
it was justified.
No one
Hold on
was
one sec,
okay
one
with
sec.
a violent riot, is what I said.
What?
I said no Republicans I've ever spoke to were like, that's awesome that guys got violent and rioted. No one, not a single
You can
person.
go
Wait,
watch
doesn't
all
that
of
make
my
you
debates
pussies,
with all
though?
these
If you're about to
Republicans
lose a
justifying
republic and you
January 6th.
won't even fight for it, doesn't that make you moral cowards?
See, this is what I'm talking about, dude. The difference between the left and the right. It's one of those things where it's like the right knows what real violence is, and it's kind of
Hold
like
on.
that's why it's like,
Okay,
we'll just,
okay,
like,
this
avoid that
talking
at all
point
costs.
doesn't work.
Wait, counterpoints. Hold on, wait.
Yeah, yeah,
Hold on,
you
wait,
go
wait.
ahead.
Go to
You don't know
Tom.
who you're talking
Tom,
to,
your
by the way.
thoughts?
Okay,
Go ahead, Tom.
Jesse, do you think that the American Revolution was justified?
Are we comparing the current state to the American
just answer the
Revolution? Is that the
question.
point you're making?
I'm asking you a question. Do you think it was justified? Like it is.
Listen, dude, I don't have any opinion on anything that happened hundreds of years ago. I take for granted that what's in the books is probably
So
somewhat
I will
accurate.
tell you, I am very happy that the American Revolution happened. I think it was justified. But I also think that if the election was stolen and if an insurrection of sorts was happening, that somebody actually stole the election from the other person, and I was told this and I believe this, I would be at the motherfucking Capitol too. I would be rushing.
I know
into
you
that
guys
fucking
would
building.
with guns this time for sure. You guys are on the left, dude. The violent side.
And so does the right. Everybody believes that. I don't know where you came from, but everybody. I don't know if you again, like I don't know. Do you know who Kyle Rittenhouse is? Everybody believes that this is like justified violence where he's protecting himself. This is a type of self.
Oh, you mean like when someone actually had a gun pointed at his head when he shot them, or when the guy who got out of jail for raping 12-year-olds the day before tried to take his gun, put it in his face?
That's what he's talking about.
Again, so first off, that was the third person, but sure, that I think that he was justified in defending himself, and I think that we would be justified in defending our Constitution and defending our republic if somebody's trying to steal the election. That these are times where it is justified to engage in violence to protect our country, and that is a necessity in that moment.
It's the predicate for every single law enforcement officer and every single Marine person, every single Marine Corps vet, every single Army vet, every single Air Force vet. It's the predicate that if you threaten the Republic of the United States, violence is justified. So this is where it doesn't make sense to me conceptually. You're saying simultaneously that the election was stolen, the Democrats did it, Donald Trump's correct, he doesn't have any evidence for it 6 years later, but also the feds baited us into it and we're such moral cowards that we wouldn't fight to restore the Republic of the United States using violence. That doesn't stand up to
I didn't say any of those things.
That doesn't stand up to any kind of logic or scrutiny whatsoever.
Not one part of that is
totally straw man his argument, man.
Well, then go ahead and explain it to me, because I would love to know how the election being stolen isn't enough of a moral pretext to justify the violence of January 6, 2021. I'm with tomfoolery. If Donald Trump wasn't a lying piece of shit, January 6th would be totally justified.
Right. I know. Violence.
Under your worldview. So what Jesse here is doing, he's making a clear distinction.
You don't think the Republic is worth fighting for?
Hold on. I want to hear just
real quick. What we're getting at here and what Jesse was saying is he's basically saying that the Republicans that he knows, and even I know as well, no one was talking about, January 6th is justified. We knew that the people that, entered the Capitol at that time, that they were in the wrong. No one was really saying, like, collectively, all of the Republicans wasn't saying that, they're justified. We were saying that they're knuckleheads. What are they doing? You get what I'm saying? So
why aren't they not held responsible?
Wait. So hold on. Was the election stolen or not?
They were held responsible because some of them went to jail for a while, and then when Trump got in office, he was like, you know what? It was a lot of fishy stuff going on. Let's
logically, I think you're still trying to have your cake and eat it too. Was the election stolen or was it not stolen?
The conversation about which side's more violent.
Yes, it does. It's the justification for January 6, 2021. Was the election stolen or was it not stolen? It's the justification for what happened on January 6, 2021. Was it or wasn't it, in your opinion?
The left is looking to see if it's justified, because that's what you do. You're looking for a justification for violence.
No, I'm trying to test you on your own logic.
No, his logic.
Hold on 1 second. Kat, what have you got?
Yeah, his logic. This is what I'm hearing. Okay, the logic is this: if one believes that the election was stolen, that means the system is no longer functioning. There is no way to use a democratic system like law or protesting or things like that to gain power back, to have a democracy, right? So essentially that was the claim that was being made by certain individuals or that's the belief that the individuals who went and did the insurrection or whatever you want to call it. So that's where it does justify, because historically, when people believed that that the system was no longer functioning and no longer worked, that people couldn't use law, it was a lawless society essentially, which is really what was claimed, then the only way to kind of restore that isn't to write articles, right? It is to use force. And I think
do you
every
think
side
that
kind
they
of
were
supports
trying to
that.
overthrow the government on January 6th? The people who
Yes,
went and
through
got
the
them?
Eastman memo. Yes.
They were
Absent
trying to
a single firearm.
they were trying to stop the certification of the election, and the numerous groups had
Without any
firearms
lethal
off-site.
weapons.
with no firearms.
I'm
Number one,
literally-
there
that's
were
what I'm getting to that.
firearms.
Numerous groups had tons of firearms off-site that they were planning on having brought to them once they got inside. But they decided there were so many more people than they had anticipated that they didn't need firearms. And they were correct. Once you get to that number of people and you have like 200, 300, I think it was like close to 2,000 Capitol Police and over like 20,000 people.
Yeah, you're
and
just making assertions without any proof.
No,
Oh,
no, no, no,
they-
no, no.
they
Tom,
came
Tom,
up
let me
with
get this. Let me
plan
get this
and all
because
of
this isn't
Like,
even
come
relevant.
on, man.
This is where they're
Wait,
so full of
wait,
shit.
I do-
You've had
hold on,
6 years.
I-
You've had
I
6
think-
years.
No,
Tom,
wait,
please.
what are you
wait,
questioning me on?
wait.
What do you think I don't have proof for?
Hold on. So, well, and let me back you up. Okay. Jesse
Why?
and
I want the
Cooley.
answer to that.
Tom,
I don't
I
even
think-
know.
well,
I'll
hold
give
on,
you an
here's
Please
answer,
let me
the
cut to
David,
the heart
man.
of this matter.
I think that
You guys
Tom
just-
asked David Tom asked David, what do you think I'm full of it on? And David, what was it? I want to give you a chance.
Yeah, what I was saying
It's
was
not
he's
even
making
relevant.
these assertions. He's saying that, well, there were, armed men outside of the Capitol, and the plan was they had plan A, but then there were so many people. So plan B was like, well, we're not going to use our guns. We're just going to let them go into the Capitol. These are all assertions. It didn't happen.
That are
This
in
this
court
didn't
cases
happen.
that in their testimonies, we can pull them up. I can show you their testimonies and
What I'm saying is the plan never came
I'm
about.
telling you, I do have proof. that
Yeah,
they
what
had
I'm
them
saying
as
is,
part of the plan. but they
maybe I
didn't
said a
use
different
them.
way. What I'm saying is that plan never came about.
Yeah, I
So
got to
you're
say this is why
saying
this is bullshit when he's
something-
done.
You just said that.
No,
hold
no,
on,
real
wait.
quick.
Wait, hold on. I just want
You
to. I
said-
do want to hear.
just need
I
to
do want to
clarify
give.
this.
I want to give David a chance to finish. So David has been
Yeah,
patient,
I'll
patient
speak.
waiting
I've
at the
been
bottom.
super
Okay, I'm sorry.
patient. Yeah, I've
It's
been
just-
super
it's not-
patient.
it's
But
not-
just real quick, I'll give you my refutation to your argument that you're putting forward. What I'm saying that you're making the assertion towards violence where the violence didn't happen. You can say that they had a plan, but the plan never went into play, right? Oh, well, we had a plan here and this, that. That plan never went into play. So like Jesse was saying, when he asked Counselor Points the question, well, like what true violence did they actually, like, were they really trying to take over the Capitol with no guns? Like when they got in there, they didn't trash the place. It was kind
They
of
were
like
just
just
trying to
chilling,
delay the
sitting in
certification of the
chairs.
election.
I want
That's
to.
it. They just
Connor,
wanted to
eventually I
delay
want to
the
get to you, but
certification.
Tom, I want to give Tom a uninterrupted time. Go ahead, Tom.
They just wanted to delay the certification of the vote. That was it. They just needed to delay it. And they did successfully delay the certification of the vote because Donald Trump was trying to get more Republicans to actually challenge the vote that was coming up. But what you actually did is you challenged whether or not they had weapons and whether or not they would go to the Capitol to try to delay the certification of the vote without weapons. And I'm telling you, they showed up with weapons. They just decided not to use them and they left them in their hotel rooms because way more people showed up as part of the insurrection. Than
Got
they
it,
had
but that still
anticipated. So-
proves, that still doesn't refute the point that they did not go into the Capitol with weapons. That's the point.
I want to give Connor a chance.
What don't you
Connor,
get?
go ahead.
Yeah, so this is why this point is total bullshit. You guys have had 6 years realistically to read this stuff. Number one, when you say there's no evidence, Enrique Tarrio, the head of the Proud Boys, was convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to 20 years in prison. All of the evidence that Tom is talking about, where they had a quick reaction force with firearms that were ready to roll in order to detain Congress members, this was all part of the Tarrio case. So the fact that you're ignorant of that doesn't do anything. And by the way, trying to coup the government and then failing doesn't mean that you tried to do a coup. So not only that, let's take that aside. There was a QRF with guns. Enrique Tarrio was convicted of seditious conspiracy. He was sentenced to 20 years. Let's put that aside because you're wrong and you should concede that. But let's move to the next point. The Eastman memo, something that you could Google and read probably in the time of this debate.
Wrong
It's
about
5
what,
minutes, 10
Counter
minutes
Points?
max. Okay. The Eastman
You're not
memo,
refuting any of my
you can interrupt me
arguments.
if you
You're
want,
just
but it just
talking.
means that you're full
Well,
of shit.
I want to
So the
give
Eastman
Connor
memo-
Points a chance to wrap
You're
up.
just
whole-
talking. You're just
I want to.
prattling,
whole
man. Go
I'll
plan-
ahead.
give you a chance. I'll give you a pithy wrap up.
I want to finish. So the
Go ahead, man.
Eastman memo, you can go read it yourself. The whole point was to pressure Mike Pence in order to vacate the vote. That was the whole point. So you're saying, oh, they didn't have guns. They didn't have bombs. They didn't plan on taking over the entire Capitol. The whole plan was to get the vice president, one person, to throw out the vote. And we came one person away from fulfilling this plan. The fact that you guys failed doesn't mean you didn't try.
I want to give David a chance, but then what I do have to do is I have to bring us back to, I think there was one thing that it might have been in Jesse's opening, I might be wrong, in terms of the alleged celebration of violence when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But I do want to give David just a really pithy, because I don't want to go too much on
I mean,
January 6th, but
yeah, I mean, my point on this, he didn't refute my point. He's just, prattling. He's just talking. He didn't make it. He doesn't really
you're
know how
wrong.
to debate. I debated this
You're
guy.
just wrong. You
He did
said
not
that there was no
refute any of my
evidence. There was
points.
evidence. It's in the Enrique
When did I
Tarrio
ever
case.
say
That's a
evidence?
direct
That's a lie.
refutation. You're
Evidence
lying out
never
loud.
came out of my mouth.
You're lying.
Evidence never
I
came
do
out of
have
my
to-
mouth. So that's another lie.
I
The
do
same
have-
thing you've been doing with Jesse, you're doing with me. You're just like making these claims that we're making that we've never made.
said
Like, what
I
are
was
you
From
talking
court
about?
He said there was no
Evidence.
weapons.
You
He
said
there was
you're
no
just
weapons.
making assertions.
No,
with
no, no.
no
Hey,
evidence.
who
I
said
do
there was
forgive
no
you.
Said that
weapons?
they
I
sorry
said
did
to
in
not
the
have any
Capitol.
I hate to
weapons
do it.
when they
This is the only
stormed the
one
Capitol.
where I have
When
to
they
do this.
stormed in the Capitol, y'all
They didn't have
had
any
poor
guns.
active
I
listening
have to do
skills.
this.
It,
I
it doesn't.
He just told you.
Quick
What?
reaction force with firearms, and the evidence for that is in the Enrique Tarrio case.
Did they
That is
go
a
in the
direct
Capitol?
refutation of what you just said. You are lying
Were
to
they
your
in the
audience.
Capitol?
You are
I
lying
hate
to
to
this
do this.
panel. You're
Were
lying
they in
to
the
yourself.
Capitol?
I have to go. Okay, all right.
Dork.
Just to be sure we don't go. Just to be sure we don't recover the same ground. I do want to redirect us because we might have covered this, and forgive me if we did. But the alleged celebration over Charlie Kirk online, like X, I think this came up, but I might be wrong. And this is anecdotal, but nonetheless, I think everybody would agree there was kind of this conservative cancel culture. Whether or not that's right or wrong, I'm not trying to make the point on that. But more so, like if you think there was a cancel culture, like there's something they're trying to cancel, I think everybody agree that there was a lot of celebration of Charlie Kirk being murdered on X, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or how about like at the TMZ video where that room cheered behind when it was live streaming, and a whole room of people cheered when it got announced that he was officially dead. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's unfathomable to me. That whole, like Charlie, I was live streaming when I saw Charlie Kirk get murdered the first time. So like I got an alert that he had been shot. I went and was live streaming. I had no idea what his status was. I didn't know if he was alive, dead, whatever. And I got someone sent it to me. And so I watched it while I was live. And it was, I mean, obviously I saw the one from the side that was really graphic, and that was shocking, obviously. But the reaction to it was so, like, I could have visualized a world where a right wing or left wing pundit of some kind was shot in public. But I didn't understand that I lived, because, everybody lives in some form of an echo chamber. I'm not a Republican. Like I'm not a MAGA person. I'm an independent. And I mean, I voted for Obama twice. I abstained in 2016, voted for Trump twice. And I didn't realize that I lived in a place where there was there's a place where in America it would be acceptable for people to know that they so fervently hate the other side that they could just cheer out loud when Charlie Kirk was announced dead. That the reaction to the murder was actually more shocking to me than the murder itself. And I mean, it's like, and I can't relate to it culturally at all. I do notice that it is primarily female or very, very clearly men who have no experience with violence at all, where you're like I think they look at it like it's like a video game, and it's not like an actual person who had young children and a wife and all of that stuff. Like they don't, they've never hurt a person. They've never seen their friends get hurt. They're just, it's like make-believe that's in the box.
I
I
think
want to
they're
give a chance to
sorry,
go ahead, Kat.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead, Kat.
I was just going to say, I think it's more of a detachment from that individuals and kind of this level of dehumanization. But I feel, and I was quite stunned by that response. I will absolutely agree with that. It was horrible. At the same time, the idea that that response only exists on the left is just not true either. I think the scale of it was maybe more significant than what I've seen with other recent kind of situations of violence. But like I mentioned, like with Paul Pelosi, like, and he wasn't even killed, right? But he was bludgeoned, and the rhetoric around that and response to that was not like very different to me. I just think the scale of the Charlie Kirk specifically, and I think also because he was a more prominent figure in the conservative movement or the Republican MAGA movement, whatever you want to call it, I think that was also part of it. And then also like the altercation between, because there was suddenly this like pressure to like, there's a difference between, and I think we tried to make that distinction earlier, where there's a difference between being like, I'm very firmly against using political violence to, kill people that we don't agree with. 100%, there is no doubt. In terms of, I do feel for him as a human being, just whose life was taken. But that doesn't mean that people are going to feel like, really sad about him. And, when the MAGA right wing, they started making these lists of like 200,000 names of people who supposedly celebrated his death. And I looked at some of those lists, and of course there's some very vile people on there, but there were also people who said things like, oh, I'm just afraid that there's going to be more violence as a result of this. There were people like, in a way, making that list was encouraging retaliation. And there was this talk of civil war. It immediately went to this like very violent place as well. So 100% denounce anybody who, cheered for it and is okay with using violence in that way. But to say that it's just something that exists on the left, and to also take in the people who were just opposed to, just didn't like Charlie Kirk necessarily, didn't necessarily condone his death, like, and those two were lumped together. I don't think that was right either.
Taylor, did you have something you want to say? Or David, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, when it comes to Charlie Kirk, I think that a lot of people on the left that was, praising his death. When we look at it, we just got to be honest. The left wing is a party of emotions and feelings. They try to say that they're the party of empathy and things like that. But if most of the ideologies on the left side is an oppressor versus oppressor lens, this is how they kind of view everything. Well, oh, black people think I'm a victim. White man is oppressing me. The women think that, oh, the patriarchy is oppressive. The nuclear family is oppressive, and all of these things. Let me finish. I'm saying that we do know that there's some areas that the right wing and the left wing, I would say both have emotions and both act off emotions and ego sometime. The distinction that I'm making when it comes to the left is the type of emotions that they act off of is more of like it's incoherent emotions. It makes no sense. It's rooted in things that is just like not truth. So like when you look at, some of their ideologies like feminism and stuff like that, feminism is just a lie. It's the movement towards egalitarianism to try to equalize the genders and things like that, which you can't do because they need men. They always need to appeal to men to get the rights. So feminists, the entire agenda, the ideology is just not true. So it's based off of an incoherent ideology that makes no sense, right? So my argument and my delineation between the two is that, I see why that, and we even see it here from Counterpoints in Time, where they're looking for justifications for violence, right? They're looking for justifications for violence. But over here, me, Jesse, and Taylor, we're like, well, what are you talking about, Counterpoints? Like, you're actually proving our point. Like, with your actions and the way you're speaking, you're proving all of our points because you are emotional. You get what I'm saying? And I think that emotional people tend to act out in violence.
Counterpoints or Tom, I want to give you a chance.
Yes, I would love the opportunity to respond. Yeah. So this is where Jesse being like, okay, I agree with you, by the way, because I've not been a liberal a majority of my life. I haven't been progressive or leftist. As a matter of fact, I hate communists. Okay. And I think the left wing is largely incompetent when it comes to violence. You're not talking to two stereotypical soy lefties. Okay. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I served in law enforcement for 4 years. I've seen violence up hand. I've seen people die. I get it. Okay. Violence is bad. Tom, as well, is not a stereotypical person. He's been incarcerated before. He's seen the wrong end of the justice system before. He's been around rough characters. So you're not talking to the stereotypical soy lefty. So if you want to say that as a talking point,
just
that's totally
because
fine.
you've been to prison
but
before,
this is where
then
Cooley,
you're
hold on,
not.
Cooley, I'll address you directly.
I'm speaking about
since you addressed me
emotions.
directly.
I want to
While you're interrupting, but that's
Give
okay.
me a
It's my
chance.
turn to talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Counterpoint.
So you said that the left wing is incoherent, doesn't understand anything. They have a feminine, energy where they use empathy to justify their violence and all this bullshit. And
Well, I
here's
didn't
the thing.
say that.
Well, yeah, it's what you implied. It's absolutely what you implied. You
No,
brought
I
up
didn't say
feminism
that.
3 times tonight. It has nothing to do with what the fuck we're
No,
talking
I
about.
didn't say that.
So
They
Cooley, I'm
use that
addressing
to
you,
then
so I would like the
justify it.
opportunity to finish
I
my,
want to
my sentence.
I want to give you.
So anyways,
pithy,
Okay,
I would like the
wrap up.
opportunity to finish.
Continue to straw man my position. Go
I
ahead.
will, because what happened was you said something fundamentally incorrect. Tom corrected you. I corrected you. And instead of being like, damn, you know what? I never heard about that before. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to research it. I'm going to see if these guys are right. You started dancing in circles and turning yourself into a fucking pretzel in front of all of our eyes. So who's emotional now?
Okay.
You can't deal with the
when did
fact that you're
happen?
wrong.
Okay,
That's
so
an emotion.
we can get back
let me
into it
let me
again.
say something about
So
that.
you're
real quick.
straw manning real
yeah.
quick,
I want to
Jesse.
give
I'm not
Dave a
straw manning
chance.
you.
real
That's
quick.
what
And
happened.
then
Yeah,
You said something.
no.
You were wrong.
You continue. I debated you before, and you have low IQ because you don't know how to follow a position. You don't know how
I
to
have a
follow
very
an
high
argument.
IQ,
No,
actually.
you
I
don't.
doubt your
No, you
IQ.
don't.
Okay,
No,
one
you
sec.
don't. No, you don't.
Yeah,
So real
yes,
quick,
I do.
I want to
Even
redirect.
when let's
Guys,
just take
I
a
hate to
quick
do
step
this.
back. Can I finish
David,
my point?
you
I can
uh,
listen to Cooley.
yes, I'll give you a chance to
Okay.
finish, David.
I'll
Then
lay my
Jesse. Go ahead,
Okay,
David.
so here's what I'm saying. Even when we were speaking about that point where what you're speaking about now, when we're speaking about January 6th, I just said that you still don't understand my point. I said that, well, when they went into the Capitol, did they go in there armed?
We already answered you. There was a quick reaction force with guns.
No, stop it. Were the people that went into the Capitol, did they have guns? Were they armed?
No.
That's my point. So shut up, you
You're
dork.
too
You are an
stupid
idiot.
to understand
You are dumb.
outside
Anything else that you say,
context.
I
counterpoint.
hate
Shut
to
up.
do this.
Anything else you say is an assertion of your argument. It is not refuting my argument. Stop
Yes, it
saying
is,
things that I
Cooley.
did not say.
Yes,
You
Cooley.
are dumb, bro.
I do want
You're
to-
dumb.
all right.
Cooley,
I do
Cooley,
wanna-
I'm going to
Counterpoints.
prove to
I
you.
want to
You're
shelve this
stupid.
one.
I would like an
I wanna-
opportunity
I
to
know that-
respond. I would like an
Look,
opportunity
he
to
thought he
respond.
was cooking.
I
You're
do.
stupid.
The thing is,
So-
the only challenge is that I don't want to go back too much on this topic. I know Jesse.
I
wanted to
can
say something about-
respond and then we can move on.
I can give you like 12 seconds. I hate to do it, but we have to move
12
fast.
seconds. Okay. Tom and I brought up Enrique Tarrio, his case, seditious conspiracy, the Eastman memos, and all of these make your point look like you're a fucking idiot.
What was our point?
Yeah, what's the point?
He just said that if you don't bring a weapon to a riot, then clearly you didn't plan on overthrowing the United States
You're dumb.
government.
I didn't
which
say
the
that.
Eastman
You're dumb.
memo
I've
and
never
Enrique
said that.
Tarrio
I have-
clearly
I
disproved.
do-
That was
You're
clearly
dumb.
your
I've
point.
never said that.
Forgive me, guys.
Oh, well,
quick jump
you're
in.
still
I
a
hate to
fucking
do this,
idiot who
but
doesn't
just
understand
all right,
logic.
really quick reset. Okay, we're going to. Are there any thoughts that Tom? I want to give you a chance. Really pithy, and then Jesse. I know you also had your hand up before Tom, so I can go really pithy responses. Then we have to go really quickly into the Q&A because we only have 30 minutes. We've got a lot of questions. So, Jesse, do you have maybe like even might be a chance to do even like a quick summary in maybe 30 seconds to a minute if possible, and then
No,
Tom
I
will give
I
you-
really want to talk about January 6th. I'm just kidding. No, okay, look, like this is where I was gonna reset. Is this like what is the core connective tissue among the left currently? Like, what is the thing that makes people go, I'm on this side? Okay. There are a lot of things that make people on the right, whether it is medical freedom after the pandemic, or it's this, that, conservative values, anything, the million things. The core fundamental shared ideology on the left is they hate Donald Trump and they hate his supporters. The end. Okay. If you want to know why they're more okay with violence, it's because their ideology is built around the hatred of the other side. People on the right, it's not. The people on the right, it's a reaction to that, my opinion. I mean, actually, it's not really an opinion, it's a fact, but yeah.
I want to give Tom a chance to, this will be the last before we go into the Q&A. So we got to let Tom have the last word here. Go ahead, Tom.
I think like overall, the fundamental issue, not just in this conversation, but overall with the conversations over the last, couple months, feels like everything on the right is just kind of about their feelings, and everything's just about the oppressed versus the oppressees. And like, Christians are oppressed, the right is oppressed, Trump is being oppressed, for being held accountable for his crimes. Like it's all this oppressed oppressee sort of thing. And I think that when you look at things through that sort of lens, it is always going to make you feel like you are a victim and you have to fight back against something. And so I think even when we're looking at like stats saying, 25% of conservatives agree with January 6th, they deny that. Or if we talk about like actual, things that were said in court and statements that were ruled on, they don't believe that, because it's just not about the like facts at all. It's always about their feelings. And I think that applies also to pointing at random 15-year-old TikTokers who said something mean about Charlie Kirk after he died, while ignoring the fact that all of the right-wing leaders were calling for civil war, while the left-wing leaders were all denouncing the violence and saying that we don't want any violence. The very drastic differences between the two, when one is wanting more violence and the other, while being leaders, while the leaders of the left are calling for less violence. And Donald Trump even said that when the right commits violence, it's because they want good things, and when the left commits violence, it's because they're evil. That kind of says that he is justifying the violence.
I know that you guys have a round in the chamber ready to fire back, but we do have to go to the Q&A. So I hate to
so I went
bring us quickly. Quick housekeeping thing, bottom right of your screen, folks. If you didn't know, you can watch DebateCon 6, our conference, this Saturday and Sunday, live from home. If you join the Final Word channel membership, you can watch all 7 stage debates live. You can enjoy your Soylent at home on the couch while watching these. It'd be a great time. With that, we're going to jump into these questions. This is going to be really hard, but if you guys can do me a favor, it's so hard that if you're able to try to have there be one person that responds to each of these questions, only one, because you do have a lot of questions. People were amped, very excited. And if you're able to abstain from giving a rebuttal, it's going to be really hard. But here we go. We're going to jump into this. Greg Schuster, thanks for your question. They said your DMs are irrelevant, victim. This topic is not even debatable, and it's silly to pretend that it is. Okay, so this is for Kat. The left argues about the right's violent rhetoric, while the left actually murders, riots, and destroys. Facts don't care about your feelings. Kat, will give you a chance to respond.
Sure. I mean, that's right. Facts don't care about your feelings, and the facts are this. So mine was a personal anecdote. Fine. You can ignore that. You can throw that out. That's fine. But in terms of numbers of murders, those go to the right, not to the left. I mean, that's just data point. I don't have to use my feelings for that. So I think that should address that.
You got it. This one from Pseudonym. I don't know what's going on. What are all the hyphens, man? Great debate. We know the left is okay with mental health, LGBT, BLM, socialism, anarchism, etc. We can all be Republican or Democrat. It should be based on policies, not feelings. Who's angry here? Bless. I don't know who that's for.
I'll address that. That was incoherent nonsense. And policy is not arbitrary, especially with the United States being the most powerful commercial empire in the world. Who is in power and how they wield that power kills or saves hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Basil problem. Gosh, a lot of these are not exactly on topic. We'll maybe cover yours. Gentleman Damon says the American Revolution wasn't actually a revolution because the Continental Army never brought weapons into Windsor Castle. If there's one person that wanted to respond,
That was a shit post from my community. They were basically calling bullshit on this perspective that January 6th wasn't an actual attempt to overthrow the government.
this one from Brandon Hansen says, "Watch 2,000 Mules, proof that 2020 was stolen." All right, we'll let people. Hopefully, you can
Yeah,
find
he took that
another
back.
opposing documentary as well. And
He
this one from
admitted his documentary was wrong. Just by-
Kuzium Weird says, "Can't believe I have to ask this, but for the more violent side, parentheses MAGA. Oh, they say, is violence ever justifiable, or are you all really pacifists?" Well, maybe
Yeah, the Republicans don't
uh,
believe in self-defense. So
Oh, bro. All I do is violence. That's literally, I record videos and I train how to break people's limbs and strangle them unconscious. And then I hang out with my kids and my wife. That's my entire life.
See, we found out that I'm kidding.
Okay, so would you
I'd
ever
say
use
words are
violence
making
for
words more
ideology,
violent.
Jesse?
I do have to.
No.
I hate to do it, but just because
Wait,
we have
that,
so
that
many
doesn't make
questions.
any sense.
Last one's left says Tom Fool is prime example of the snakiness from the left. Oh, Tom, all right. They say the ones that play the victims the most are calling conservatives victims. What a weasel. Tom, will give you a chance to respond.
yeah, I missed the last of it. I have a TTS talking over me right now. What was the very last part?
They said, "What a weasel." But the last
yeah,
part, they said,
I do
the
my best.
they said the ones that play the victims the most are calling conservatives victims.
Yeah, I think that like I again grew up a Republican. I've been a conservative by far the majority of my life, and I moved away from the conservative side because I did feel like the ideology was changing, and that I'd grown up making fun of the SJWs who were always victims, and the MAGA group became that stereotype very quickly. So was not my thing.
This one from Bless My Vibe Code says, "Have you guys ever seen female cops on body cam videos? They fail every single time," in all caps. "They can't handle extreme pressure and usually need men to back them up or do their jobs. There's compilations of it." I don't understand how this had to do with violence on the left or right, though. But anybody want to respond?
As a former cop, I know plenty of female cops who do well under pressure, and they're perfectly good marksmen.
Kuzium Weird, thanks for your question, says, "It's obvious the left is less violent than the right when it comes to political fatalities. But the question is, does right-wing politicians running on hate fuel that? I think it's more so religion, to be honest." Anybody want to respond? David or Taylor or Jesse? This is
I
a
got nothing
strange
on that.
one.
Wait, can you read it again?
I mean, I respond to it.
okay,
I
let
thought
him
it
do
was
it.
for the
He was
left.
basically said something that like religion. He was saying that like religion is basically takes accountability for what the violence, I guess. Read the last detail end of it.
Yeah, approximately. They say it's obvious the left is less violent than the right when it comes to political fatalities. They say, but the question is, does right-wing politicians running on hate fuel that? I think it's more so religion, to be honest.
No, that's nonsensical, because even if you look at things, and data would show it as well, most violence come from, secularism, people that do not believe in, a religion at all, or do not believe in God. They're more likely to act out violent. It's not to say that violence doesn't happen, in, Islam communities and maybe even Christian communities, hundreds of years ago and stuff like that. It's not to say that, no violence happens if you're religious, but if we're looking at the data, if you're secular, you're more likely to be violent.
This one coming from Greg Schuster. Oh, we got that one. Basil Problem has a lot of I don't know. I think sometimes these seem like insults. Sometimes I think he's trying to flirt with our guests. But here we go. He's got one for you, Jesse. It says, so is Trump's murdering of people on boats off the coast of Venezuela or the Eastern Pacific an example of violence?
Is it violent to kill people? Yeah.
You got it. This one from
And the
Basil.
promotion of it and the videos and everything.
Wait, but out of curiosity, because I don't want to assume, but this actually just crossed my mind like 2-3 hours ago. I had that cross my mind. What do you guys think of Trump having blown up these boats? Kat, are you like, yeah, demonstration of power, or are you kind of like, no, I don't think I like that?
You know what? I'm gonna plead the fifth because I just don't feel like I'm informed enough about that particular situation to
Not
have-
to say that your position has to be as simple as the way I put it if you were for it.
No,
but-
no, no. I genuinely like I don't know enough about the ships that are being blown because I do think sometimes it's justifiable to take military action, right? Or to protect country. So I just don't. I just
I
don't.
mean, I
feel-
would say it seems as though their fear is like drug trafficking. I think that in this case, if they're one, we don't have a whole lot of evidence that there are drugs, like they're not a very transparent administration, so we don't really know what's going on there. But two, even when it is just drugs, it would be better to actually like send ships out there and apprehend these people instead of just blowing up 12 different boats, which is what they've done at this point. I think that's pretty horrific.
Yeah, I think it
This-
would depend on the data that they have on those boats, I guess. Like how much do they know for sure that this is what's happening with those boats specifically?
Basil Problem, nasty guy, has one for you, Taylor. So he says, Taylor, will you be okay when Stephen Miller begins sending single moms to CECOT? I don't know if I'm saying that right for the acronym. It's CECOT. What does this mean?
It's the El Salvadoran
like
secret
a-
prison.
Prison, yeah. That's not a real question. I mean, what is that?
Okay, you got it.
No, I would not be okay with that.
He
What?
just wants attention. Okay, this one from Brandon Hansen says, quote, they didn't say intentionally. They said, bro, BBC clipped 2 sentences that were spoken 53 minutes apart from one another to create a very dangerous quote. One
I
of
mean, I
you must
agree
have
that
said,
they did
they-
clip it
they-
like a little bit out of context. It was not good the way that they made it sound
Yeah.
as though he was explicitly saying that they ought to go inside the Capitol, and that was the problem with it. I think most people would say he said at the beginning, "Let's go peacefully and patriotically," through a 3-hour speech, and then had like 10 other statements where he was implying that they should do that, but he didn't say it explicitly, and they clipped it and made it sound like he explicitly was saying, "Let's go and fight."
I see. So I think I understand that you're saying Trump was implicitly kind of like hinting and like winking, like, go do violence. And you're saying
They clipped
BBC
one
just
part
made it
where
more
he
explicit.
says, we're going to march to the Capitol, and then clipped another part where he said, and we're going to fight, and put those two things together and made it sound like he said, we're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to fight. Whereas that's not what he said. So yeah.
Gotcha.
It's
This one
yeah. I mean,
from-
like
Go
when
ahead,
they
Jesse.
said that Trump said it was going to be a bloodbath on, when he was talking about an economic bloodbath if they didn't block the Chinese car manufacturing in Mexico.
This one from Basil Problem. Jesse, do you believe Tucker Carlson was attacked by demons in his bed when he was spooning with his
I
dog?
already answered him on chat. I said yes.
You got it. He's like, he's got a curiosity over there. I think we got Bless My Codes. Thanks for your question. And Ajax CTXR, thanks for your question. Yes, DebateCon 6. Become a Final Word member. You can watch all the debates. It's just average of $2 a debate. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. Andrew Wilson takes on atheist Dr. Richard Carrier on Christianity or secular humanism, which makes the world a better place. It's going to be lively to say the least. Insert your name here. Says, this is to anyone. Please bring up the YouGov poll. It was done recently. More liberals think that violence is okay.
Yeah,
that?
and
I
what
think
we're
we
talking
referenced
about
that.
again.
That's
this-
the
yeah,
one that
this
we talked
one-
about. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that we went over. There's a bunch of them that are worded differently. So one actually asks, do you think that it would be justified if somebody murdered Trump or Elon Musk? And there was a good like 20 to 22% of those. And then there was another one that asked, do you think that violence is sometimes political violence?
Did you
is
find that
justified?
study about Elon and Trump? Because if that's 2025, I'm misquoting it. It's 20 to 25? Did you find it?
Don't have it pulled up, but I believe that's what
I've been
it
telling
was.
everybody it's 50, 45, but I could be totally wrong. I need to look it up.
Let me double check.
I'm probably wrong. I like the other ones I had all pulled up. That's why I didn't talk about that one very much. You can move on though, James.
You got
Yeah,
it. This
I'll update in a minute.
last one's left said, quote, liberals hate everything that is good. God, moderation, children, men, they are the elites, useful idiots, and they don't even realize. Connor, is this true? Are you a useful idiot?
No. I believe in Nicomachean, Aristotelian virtue ethics. I'm a deist. I believe in God. I think that liberalism is the worst form of government, except for all the other ones. Maximal human freedom is based, and I love freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, right to self-defense, up to and including against your own government. I love due process of law. I love republics. Philosophically, I'm a Republican, and part of the reason why I'm so emotional, as people have pointed out, is because I think that the right wing has become a cult.
This one from XJTAC says, I'll roll with super points, even my broken ribs. I don't know what that means. They say he's a dork.
He said he'll fight counterpoints in jiu-jitsu is what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm in Central Florida. Let's go.
They say he's a dork. Who uses that word anymore? It's like something I'd say. They say, and weak like the rest of the men on the left with low T. Connor points. Are you going to take that?
Yeah, come down to Orlando. We'll spar. Maybe I don't know where Jesse is, but he can referee.
I'm in Texas.
I have family in Texas.
I love Florida.
Anywhere around violence.
Yeah, we'll do a recreational sparring match.
Dude, look at that. Man, I'm laughing at one of these guys in the chat, dude. He's got a lot of energy, dude.
This one from Zachram says, for Taylor, how often do you think tribal loyalty makes people overlook violence from their own side, even when they'd condemn it from the other vigorously?
Yes, that definitely happens. I've been on both sides of the political line. I've been a liberal. I'm more conservative now. I just happen to think one of those parties participates in that behavior more in tribalism.
Jack Attack
Yeah,
MMA.
I just do want to say, Jesse, you are correct. Actually, it is.
It's
about
50-45.
It's 50-55.
Oh wow, I was wrong in the wrong direction.
Jack Attack MMA says abortion is violent. Is it righteous violence?
I'll respond for me just because I'm more centristy. I think that whenever the fetus has like proto-consciousness, like once you have a complex central nervous system and a frontal lobe and all that kind of stuff, I think at that point it should be prohibited. And I do think it's to some degree violent.
I'm a bit before that. I'm pro-life. Maybe like 14, 15 weeks for government, but like morally, I always think it's wrong.
Let's see. This one from Basil Problem. Nasty guy, I warned you. Says, Kat, I'm surprised you are agnostic about the boat attacks. They are one of many of the most unconstitutional actions by the Trump admin.
Yeah, I think people took that the wrong way. I'm not agnostic about the attacks. I very sincerely just don't know about them enough.
Yeah,
like
she
I'm
said she
not
didn't
at
know.
all informed about it. It's not that I don't have any opinion because I just haven't kept up with that particular piece of news.
You got it. This one from last one's left. I think I get this one. We got that one. And I'm just going to make sure that there aren't any legitimate ones we missed among all of Basil Problems.
I just have no idea how they're identifying them as narcotics traffickers. So like my mom asked me the same thing and I don't know anything about it. Like nothing
is
that
why
I
I'm
would
saying
speak on
they're
it like I
not
was an
very
expert.
transparent with it, so we just don't really know. We don't really have the information.
That's well, and that's the thing. So when you look at the war on terror, we had the authorization for use of military force, which is what justified us doing drone strikes all over the Middle East and North Africa. What happened here, though, is that the Trump administration declared a bunch of narco organizations in Central and South America terrorist organizations, and then used that as a pretext to drone strike them. Now they keep saying that they're narco terror boats in known narco terror distribution lanes, and some of the pictures are speedboats with a bunch of drums in them. So maybe they are, but they're not releasing the information on the targets. They're not releasing the information on the boats. They haven't gone through Congress for this. So as a result, I agree with whoever that chatter was. Oh, and by the way, drug trafficking is not a death sentence. So we're basically turning drug trafficking into a death sentence. This is all very legally flimsy and very morally and ethically fraught.
This one from last one's left said, quote, and the left isn't a cult? They're the real fascists. Trump is the lesser of two evils by far. If you don't believe that, you're being disingenuous.
I think that's addressed to
this is
me,
what
and
we
I don't
mean.
think you know what fascism is.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is what we mean when we say that, like, kind of the left, or sorry, the right calls the left fascist all the time as well. It's just that I think that we're more accurate when we say it.
Juicy. Dice 5226 says, "Hi Cooley, I like your beard. Without denying that you never said that, can you explain this clip where you in fact literally said that?" I don't know what they're saying you said, but David, we'd love to hear from you because it's been a while since we've gotten to hear from you.
I was gonna clip it as well.
You
Oh,
got
I
it.
don't know what clip is he talking about.
Earlier, you kept saying I never said that, but the clip it is that you did say that they weren't, that there's no way they thought they could go in and take over the government if they didn't bring guns. And so we were saying, well, they did think that they needed guns. They just realized they didn't need them anymore. And so your whole idea is that there's no way they thought they were going to take over the government without guns. But we explained, no, they
No,
did
that
think they were
wasn't.
gonna take over
Yeah,
with
that's you're
guns.
taking what I said out of context too. So what I said was, and what I was getting, my position and my argument was very simple, right? So if they didn't go into the Capitol with guns, my standpoint was like, well, we're speaking about violence. I'm like, well, how much violence can they do if they didn't go in there with any weapons? And then I even made points saying that they like trashed the place. They didn't even trash the place. They were sitting down, doing some photo ops, chilling. That was the point, right? So this other stuff that y'all speaking about that's not my argument. So
I think you're taking those
Basil.
clips out of context because there's other parts
Basil.
of them inside the Capitol,
Problem.
smashing them within doors.
We have to go to the
breaking
next one.
windows. Sorry.
David, my guess you disagree with Tom, or does he won you over?
no, he doesn't win me. He hasn't given any refutation for my argument, and it's very simple. I don't think these guys know how to really follow an argument. So my
We
argument
said
was
the
simple.
Enrique
When we're
Cario case
comparing-
3 times, you dumbass.
No, listen. And I even brung up something because I want you guys need to listen to my train of thought too. Because I brung up something. One of you were speaking about January 6th. I said, well, what do you guys think about May 29th to May 31st, 2020, when Black Lives Matter rallies turned into a riot and they attacked the White House and injured 60 law enforcement officers and And they had some lethal weapons, right? They actually had lethal weapons. And then that right there, this is why I said, well, in January 6th, they stormed the Capitol, but they didn't even have any lethal weapons.
Well, 25%
So who's
of them
more
had
violent?
weapons.
I was comparing the two. Who's more violent? This was the comparison, but people were talking at the same time. So it was a conversation here, a conversation there. So I guess you guys missed that.
I want to
Go back and watch the clip.
I want to jump over. The pseudonym said Kat looks like she has a lot on her mind. Kat, are you holding back on us? Are you like listening and just thinking, what idiots? Do you have something you want to let fly?
No comment on that. No, I do think that I wish we sort of discussed even like what causes that violence in the first place. And what we're seeing today is just a lot more violence, all across the board. And I think that often happens. Part of that is the rhetoric that we're hearing, perhaps, and people's beliefs, but also I think it's people's sense that there's a system within which they can't achieve their means of what they believe. And I think that's part of also what's driving some of that violence. And we're just seeing an increase in violence. So wherever it's coming from, I think that's something that we should be addressing. And I think we should be keeping an eye out because that is a pretty big upward trend in a very short period of time.
I have a
I think
question.
the violence tends to come from people that have hatred in their heart. If you have hatred in your heart, like you hate another side based off of they have a different ideology than you, or they believe in a God and you don't, or whatever it may be, then you're more likely, the probability increases for you to act out in a violent way. And we see this because, well, look at the left wing. The things that they believe in is like very, very vastly different, and their ideologies is vastly different from the right wing. Like feminism truly thinks, and feminism is on the left. Maybe it could be a few conservatives that's, feminists, but I really wouldn't claim them. I don't think Jesse would either. Right? But when we're speaking about these things, I think that influence creates thinking and thinking creates behavior. And all of the propaganda and the influence on the left is viewing things from an oppressor versus oppressor lens, which is feminism, which is BLM, which is all of these, organizations or groups of people that tend to have hatred for the other party because they think that they hate them. But on the right, well, we're more religious. We don't really have hatred for people.
But do
We
you
think
really
that they're
not see
wrong.
the hatred on the right? I mean, I
I
agree
would say
there's
that the
hatred
far
on the
right
left.
could have. I would say that both parties have hatred. That is true. But if we're speaking about the topic of the debate is who's more violent. So who's more violent? I would say that peel back the layer. Who has more hatred? Right. I would say that the left has a lot more hatred in their heart than the right.
Yeah. So
due to the fact because they're very emotional as well.
I think people on the right are just as emotional. I don't think anybody has a monopoly on emotion. And anger, by the way, is an emotion too. If you think it's just empathy is an emotion or tears are a reflection of emotion, anger is an emotion. And we see that emotion spread out throughout different groups of people. And hatred is an emotion too, which is also spread out.
Hatred is an illogical emotion. It's illogical to have this type of like hatred. And I think that we do know on the right, there is radical, far right-wing people that can have some hatred in their heart, right? That is true. But if we're looking at the left, like,
it's not as far right, though.
dude, and this is so fucking stupid, dude.
I don't know.
Like,
I think that is,
there
I
is
think that's
such
very
thing
far
as
right.
righteous hatred. Like if you were fighting World War II and you were fighting Imperial Japan, then anyone who was serving the Imperial Japanese government, which was murderous, which slaughtered civilians, which raped and killed people, that is a perfectly valid person to hate. Same thing with Nazi Germany. Same thing with Joseph Stalin. Same thing with the communists. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're equating Nazis to people
Yeah,
you
man.
disagree with, and that's the whole problem.
I
You're
do disagree with
literally showing me
Nazis.
the
That's an
problem.
ideology that I
And then
disagree
you're
with.
calling, yes,
but I
the
think-
problem is you're
Not
calling
equating
everyone you
it to
disagree
someone
with a Nazi.
He's not.
But I
Yes,
think-
he's not
I think
equating
Taylor-
it.
And by the way,
He's
these
giving you an
disagreements
example
are not
of
arbitrary.
that
Let me just quick jump
hatred-
in.
Wait,
I think
he's just, sorry,
uh,
go ahead.
I'll give you. I want to give you a chance, Tom, but I just think Taylor might be saying like, but Connor, do you think that you're justified in hating like Republicans?
Okay. By the way, I don't hate Republicans. If you like the Republic of the United States, if you support and defend the Constitution of the United States, you're my favorite person on the fucking
what was
planet.
your
I want to
point?
be your best friend. Hold
What
on. I
was
want to
your
finish
point?
the question. But
Imperial.
if you're MAGA, Make America Great Again, you're a Trump sycophant, you have bought into a cult, you lie, or you spin yourself into knots about the January 6, 2021 attempt to overthrow the Republic of the United States. If you believe in him consolidating power, unilaterally going after tariffs, fucking up the economy, screwing over Ukraine, screwing
wanna go
over
to-
Africa through the PEPFAR cuts,
Okay,
then
I
yeah,
think we
you're
get
an
it. You
asshole.
okay? We do have. I want to give you a chance, Taylor. If you had, then Tom, I know you had one thing too. We have
I'll
a
be
couple of
quick, I
questions. I
promise.
just want to be sure we get to before we wrap up. Go ahead, Tom, really quick.
I was just gonna say, yeah, he wasn't equating Nazis to Republicans. He was saying that when people just make this blanket statement that like hatred is automatically bad, he's just giving an example of times where hatred can be justified. And so then the conversation would be, is the hatred towards Republicans or MAGA or Trump sycophants justified? That should be where the conversation goes. Not, you can't compare them to Nazis, because that's not what he was doing.
We got two more quick questions, I think. Knock Knight says, if you're pro-life, Taylor, how come it is morally fine for you to kill a human being because it's without consciousness?
Wait, if I'm pro-life, I think it's morally okay to kill a baby. Is that what the point? If you're pro-life, how come it's
I think
Yeah,
they meant
like-
pro-choice.
pro-choice? Yeah.
How come it is morally fine for you to kill a human being because it is without consciousness? That must be what they meant. Pro-choice.
If you're
Anyone?
pro-life, how? Oh, because they think it's not without consciousness, so it's more. Oh yeah, I don't think it's morally fine, so it must be pro-choice. Okay, I'm trying to parse their question.
Come on, man. He's drinking or something. But Brandon Hansen says, in the past 50 years, can you name one politician on the left who's lost their life from the right? In America, American.
Yeah, I can. There was just recently, just a couple months ago, what was it? Hoffman or Hortman? Which one was it? I think it was Hoffman.
Talking about the person in Minnesota
Yeah, Hoffman and her husband. Both
Hartman,
lost
yeah.
their-
that were shot by a dude who was personally appointed to a to a committee by Tim Walz.
Yeah.
Who voted
And
for-
whose
literal
roommate said that he was a
crazy
giant
person.
MAGA and Trump dick sucker. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, he
So
was-
if we were going to
the-
compare evidence on that one, we have appointed
So-
and worked with the left for 4 years, appointed
No,
personally
no,
by
no,
the
he worked
governor,
with the left.
documented all that, and then
Oh, yeah.
dude
And then
on
we
the
have his
news.
roommate.
No, wait,
Yeah.
hold on. The group that the committee that he was a part of was a nonpartisan committee where they had both Republicans and Democrats working on that committee. And he wasn't directly appointed by Tim Walz. He was appointed by people who worked for him. And then, yes, he ends up appointing them. But the people gather those people. You apply for the position, and then they put you on the committee. But he applied for it as just.
Did
as
that
one
guy's
of the
wife
other
work for Tim
Republicans
Walz?
did. I believe no, she did not. There was a different one with the same name.
We must wrap up. I do want to keep our promise. Folks, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your questions. I want to keep our promise to the guests. We got to let them go. They are all really busy people. We are grateful to have them here. I want to say thank you so much. Tom, Kat, Taylor, Connor, Jesse, David, we really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It was an amazing panel. People really enjoyed this.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.
Let's see. We have one more. I'm just kind of seeing if this is okay. We're sorry. Last one's left. We're not gonna let our guests go, but I'll read it afterwards. Want to say thanks again to our guests. Check out their links, folks. If you have listened to this, which you've been here listening, you enjoy it. Check out some of our guests. There's value to even checking out those you disagree with, because you're at least getting their position straight from them, not what someone says that they say, especially if it's someone in your own kind of camp telling you what someone on the other camp says. So check out our guest links. We do appreciate them. I'm going to let them go, but I'll be back in about 18 seconds. So stick around. I'll let you know about upcoming debates. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Peace.
Later.
You guys take care.
Muted like an asshole, like a dumbass. Okay, sorry, real quick. Charlie November, thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you to Gentleman Damon for the $50 donation yesterday. Thank you for the $5 today. Old Fear Monger, thank you for becoming a channel member, and also thank you for your service. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fear Monger, but you were the gentleman who was in Fallujah 2 decades ago. So thank you for your service, and thank you for kicking ass and taking names for America. Dongus Mabonga says, bonk, take the money, beard man. What's your take on The Expanse? If you haven't seen the show, read the books, you bum. So I read the first book, and believe it or not, I actually did not like the book that much. The reason why I didn't like it is because there were some tactical errors. I did think that space zombies through an alien virus was dope, though, and I kind of wish they did more space zombie stuff in the TV show. But the end of the book where, spoilers, the detective fuses with the consciousness of the alien virus in order to steer it away from Earth, I thought that was stupid as shit. The TV show, though, I think they actually do a way better job where they show Miller, I think is the character's name, the detective's name. He is obsessed with Julie Mao. And that actor, I forget what the actor's name is. He's one of my favorite. I think it's Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane does such a good job of, excuse me, of being like the alcoholic, cynical, kind of angry, frustrated person who ends up being obsessed with Julie Mao, who's the person that he ends up like meshing with the alien consciousness, that it was more believable in the TV show than it was in the book. So yeah, I love The Expanse. I'm really looking forward to Osiris Reborn. Also, quick shill, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. My parasocial love you. Thank you for being here. Dice5226 for $10 says, hi Cooley, I like your beard, without denying that you never said that. Can you explain this clip where you in fact said that? Because you literally said that. Listen, man, in a panel setting, I'm not gonna lie, on a one-on-one setting, he like walked me through his arguments and just beat me over and over again with the head, with his illogical logic chain. And that was kind of frustrating to deal with. And he kind of dictated the tempo of our one-on-one conversation. Here, I think he just got graped, just being honest. Saying repeatedly, oh, there's no evidence that the right wing actually tried to overthrow the government. And then we're like, actually, there is. Enrique Tarrio was convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to 20 years in prison. And the Proud Boys had a armed quick reaction force off site that they were willing to bring in weapons to like kidnap Congress members and shit. And that's part of the Enrique Tarrio case. I don't know how you just don't like go, oh shit, I fucked up. Then same thing with I forget it what else, but he said something incredibly stupid and just looked like a total asshole. So yeah, like oh, it was the emotion thing. It's like, oh, the left wing's emotional. And it's like, you brought up feminism 4 times. Nobody else has talked about feminism. His audience, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big audience. His audience must genuinely be some of the stupidest motherfuckers on the planet. Oh, so anyways, Discord isn't real and it can't hurt me. True. Wordsmith Andy says they don't like facts though, so it goes nowhere. Not sure who you're talking to or what about, but that's okay. Dice says no. It's like Patriarchs is muted. That's okay. Wordsmith Andy says that was painful. Yep, it was, but people love it. You know, we hit like 120 cross-platform. We had some super chats and shit. So, all right, I got through. Oh no, Steven infected him with audio issues. I know that's me. He pressed another button. True. Oh no, boomer points. He caught it. I caught it. Now, whenever I talk for like more than a minute, I look down into the bottom left of StreamYard and I see if the green bar is going. And if the green bar is not going, I know that I'm muted. So the master of the frets for $10 says, for the hell of it. Thank you kindly. Much appreciated. Nice Velociraptor, by the way. That's what that looks like to me. I don't know if that's like something else, but that kind of looks like a feathered Velociraptor to me. Tyler Odea, 8846 says, I'm really not a fan of the host. He does the same stuff to you that he does to Steven, where he'll let the other side yap and interrupt as much as they want, but won't extend the same courtesy to you. To be fair, I was being aggressive, and I do think that the right side did need training wheels in order to come out for this fight, because effectively, no offense to Jesse or whatever his name is, the ginger MMA guy, the ginger MMA guy just doesn't know shit about fuck. The female also didn't know shit about fuck, the female on the opposite side. And then Cooley knows how to argue, but he didn't actually show up well prepared for this fight at all. And so as a result, I think they got mogged pretty hard. Big Leafy Tree for $7 says, whatever black dude's name was, Cooley, he just said the argument words, but didn't actually use them correctly at all. I know. That's why I thought our one-on-one was going to be easy, because I was like, this guy's an idiot. I can just run circles around this guy. But what he actually did, which was kind of interesting, it's kind of like being in a boxing match or like an MMA match, and then somebody clinches you. So you can't do any moves, like to like actually like punch or elbow or knee with any power. That's what he did during our one-on-one debate. He like rhetorically clinched me, and I just let him do it, which was very stupid. I should have like backed out and said, okay, let's get off this topic because we can fight about something else. Bud123 says, when are you going to travel north with your wife and kids to see the aurora? It's so cool. I do need to do that with my wife. We're still establishing the channel, obviously. Like I said, we're kind of stabilized around 100 to 150 live viewers, depending on the topic and who we're talking about. That's kind of where we're at right now, which is a little bit too small to be like full-time. You guys are disproportionately generous, though, but I don't want to rely on Oilers forever. I do want to continue grinding this out until we're routinely hitting like 500 to 1,000 with generous donors. And then at that point, I think I'll be able to afford, if I have extra cash, to actually like travel with the family and not worry about whether or not I have a job. If I don't stream for a couple of days. Wordsmith Andy says, yeah, they don't care about facts. They just think everything is a conspiracy against them. Dude, the slipperiness with which they got to January 6, 2021. And they were like, this isn't relevant. This isn't relevant. And it was like, we're talking about whether or not right-wing violence was justified in reference to January 6, 2021. Dr. Darko says, Fugazi has 1 million subs. Oh, wait, just 422,000. Still, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. Morally Neutral says, streaming tomorrow. Yep, I'll be here at 9:30 a.m. Basically, I'll be here at 9:30 a.m. unless I'm sick, dead, or traveling. The only reason why I took this morning off was because obviously last night I stayed up late with you guys. I have to do a copyright claim. Apparently something got copyright struck. I might just cut it out of the VOD and get the VOD back up. But we got copyright struck on the VOD, so the VOD isn't up. But I hung out with you guys last night for 4 hours and I drank 7 beers. I had a Guinness 6-pack. That's empty. And then I had 1 Stella Artois, which I very much enjoyed. It was the perfect way to wash down those Guinness. And I don't think I was lit. I think I was okay. I never drink, by the way. I genuinely do not drink. So the fact that I was able to throw back 7 beers like it was nothing and not be wasted was kind of cool. The bit about the women and her husband being killed by a liberal because there was a big party group is crazy. They got the Melissa Hortman case totally wrong. The only reason why I didn't want to fight it too hard, I should have fought it harder realistically, especially against Jesse, because he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. But with the Melissa Hortman murders, the Minnesota murders, the state attorney general who got killed along with her husband, and then I think another state assemblyman or something was like shot. He might have been killed. I forget. But the reason why that wasn't bigger is because there was some confusion around the motivation of the shooter, but the shooter's roommate was like, oh yeah, he's a Trump guy through and through. He's a Republican guy through and through. And he was shocked by it. The Tribe One says, good shit, Connor. Y'all made a good team and thank you for your service. Well, thank you, Tribe. I appreciate your super chat. Dubious Gal says, I think young white dudes like to follow Cooley because he gives them permission to be both stupid and racist. Are you wrong? Redhead MMA guy. Yeah, the guy in the top right. I think his name was Jesse. Ranting for Vengeance's father. Not sure what that means. I thought Cooley was going to be the worst part of this, but I was mistaken, which is worse. True. Wait, there was a car bomb in Islamabad too? Yeah. Not sure if that was today or if you're talking about during the war on terror, but yeah. But Simo says, why does the right in these debates ever bring up low-level violence at every right-wing rally in speech like the TPUSA event today? Yeah. Like I said, so this is something that I hope you guys appreciate, because this is my position, because I don't like to fight within the binary necessarily unless I feel like a binary side is correct. So the left engages in statistically more violence. If you're talking about vandalism, arson, burning cars, riots, protests that turns into riots, fist fights, all that kind of stuff, blocking streets and getting into fights with drivers, I think the left wing statistically engages in far more violence. However, I think the right wing is infinitely more violent within the category. So when the right wing engages in violence, they kill and injure more people. Jihadism, somebody brought this up in chat, that arguably jihadism, because it's jihadism is oftentimes a statist philosophy. ISIS as an example, they wanted to establish an Islamic State. Al-Qaeda wanted to establish an Islamist state. They're also authoritarian theocrats. That could be argued to be right-wing violence. So the largest and most violent, most murderous ideology over the past 30, 40 years has been jihadism, which is arguably philosophically a right-wing ideology. And then also like Timothy McVeigh and all that shit. The Master of the Fret says, I like how he ended up exposed the supposed straw man you made about the violence and weapons on January 6th. Dude, Cooley's such an idiot. All my vids get copyright struck. I know. It sucks. You either got to challenge it or you got to cut it out. I watched some of that vid. Yeah, I'll fix it. The copyright strike was not for the Iraq war music video. I don't know. It might have been. Either way, I can cut it out. I bet you didn't even pour the Guinness into an hourglass. No, I just drank it straight from the bottle. Monkey Shoulder helped with that. Interesting. Stella is such an underappreciated beer. Yeah, it's nice and crisp and clean. Heineken has like a little bit of like a weird bitter aftertaste, whereas I think Stella does the same thing without the aftertaste. I actually like Stella a lot. The Tribe says, when they didn't want to say that the American Revolution was justified, I was like, quick, get me a huge bag of strings so I can free myself. Bro, and that was the other thing too. That chick, the chick on the opposite side, she kept like nodding and like shaking her head no and grimacing and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that they wouldn't admit that there is such a thing as righteous violence, that fighting and hating jihadists or fascists or authoritarian communists, the fact that they wouldn't even bite those bullets just tells me that they're like delusional. They're either dumb, they're delusional, or they're lying to themselves, or they're thoughtless. Like that. That's another possibility. One of my biggest frustrations with debating people like this is oftentimes I just think that they're thoughtless. I think that they don't think about what the words that they're saying convey meaning-wise, and so they just spit out platitudes like fucking NPC robots. Dice says, in my opinion, the most interesting part of the debate was when Jesse tried to pin you down on the fact that you're righteously violent in order to protest the Republic from insurrection. Then you asked them back if they thought cops enforcing the law counted as violence, and their brains froze for a second. Dude, that just shows you that they've never thought about it. They've just never thought about what violence is. RWJS Caper says, yesterday there was a New Delhi, India. Today, one in Islamabad, Pakistan. Oh, that's scary. Lost Coyote says, ranting for vengeance is a weird teenage ginger from Ireland who's also a YouTuber named Red Pill MMA. The dad is a Conor McGregor meat rider and giga racist. That's interesting. All them Abrahamics have Sumadat. I don't know what that is, but I read it. Dr. Darko says, wait, lol, not to be that guy, but pretty sure since the 90s, the left has been less than 45% of the terror attacks in the US. Yeah. Yeah. The left is less violent in reference. So hold on. That was the exact conversation. Terrorism, oftentimes, there's, of course, like property damage terrorism. Like, I think eco-terrorism is oftentimes destroying private property. But I think that the left wing has been responsible not only for less than 45% of the terrorism, but probably less than 45% of the homicides related to terrorism. So that's what I'm saying is, like, you cannot count, like, if you go to the BLM riots during 2020, right? And if you took a brick and threw it through a window, that's arguably an act of violence against property, right? You're damaging property. It's technically a violent act. So if you added up all of the times that a brick was thrown through a window, if you added up all of the arson, if you added up all of the cars that got smashed, if you added all that kind of stuff, all of that stuff is probably, I don't know, like millions of incidents of violence. Okay. But if you exclude the property damage and you just look at homicides and maimings, then I think the right runs away with violent incidents. Excuse me. Tiberius Vindex 804 says, that said, I would argue communism was the most violent ideology of the last century. Yep. It all depends on how large of a timeline you're operating off of, and it all depends on how you define violence. Because the cope from lefties is that the socialist regimes of the 20th century, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, and Joseph Stalin, they weren't true leftists because they were statists, and therefore they were technically right-wing. But I think that's cope, and I think that's bullshit. Jonah 0826 says, them performatively pretending to be pacifist was annoying as fuck. And such a lie, too. Such a lie. Michael Hatchtube says, debate link, who was in it? Dude, just rewind the VOD. It was tonight. It's the stream that we're in right now. Big Leafy Tree says, I would definitely say justified, vice righteous. Righteous sounds like religious motivation. Yeah, but I don't care. Righteous violence. I would say World War II did have some righteous violence in it, and I wouldn't care for the distinction. Wordsmith Andy says they would have to understand what state violence actually means. Pepe laugh. I know. Cicero says it might just be that they feel like they bite any bullets. It feels like they're losing. That's very common in debates, but that also means that you're an idiot and you shouldn't be debating anything. Subry Keller says, I don't like revisionist history, and I don't like saying this, but are they trying to gaslight us? No, I think they're legitimately stupid and delusional and self-deluding. RWJS Caper says, fascist communism is both far right and far left. Horseshoe theory is real. I'm with you with that. What's interesting, though, RWJS Caper, I bring this up sometimes. There's a nationalist philosopher named Keith Woods. He's Irish. He's a young man. He's in his early 20s, but he's a pretty smart guy. And he's read Gentile, and he's read a bunch of fascist philosophy and all that kind of stuff. He actually makes the argument that modern state capitalist China is a better implementation of fascism than Nazi Germany. I thought that was really interesting. And he was having a conversation with another right-wing philosopher called Cultured Thug, who's also an unapologetic fascist. And Cultured Thug and Keith Woods were kind of like musing out loud if they should pretend to be leftists so they could institute an actually fascist regime in Ireland and the United States. Ataraxia Adams says, I honestly think a lot of the right-wing violence stems from religious ideology, like us supporting Israel primarily coming from right-wing ideology. But then you get into whether or not legal state violence is terrorism and all that kind of shit. The reason why I don't like the religious thing is because I think there's a bunch of fedoras and anti-theists who think that once we eliminate religion, that all of a sudden humanity will become peaceful. And I think that's total bullshit. I think we always find ideologies that we're willing to kill and die for because we're looking for a sense of purpose. And it actually goes back to a South Park episode. I know South Park can be based and cringe simultaneously, but the atheist episode where Cartman accidentally time travels into the future, and there's 2 or 3 atheist tribal organizations, and the reason why and one of them is made up of sentient otters, and they're killing each other because they're arguing about what they should be named. That's how I feel about anti-theists who think that violence is going to disappear once religion is gone. I think they're very silly. Tyler Radia 8846 says, to the timeline paint. That's why I feel like these debates are so unproductive, because the right just sticks with what timeline suits them. Yeah. That's just communism. Lol. Maybe. Cicero says, happy Polish Independence Day, by the way. Polaska Guram Piłsudski, best revolutionary. Interesting. I could have just said something totally racist in Polish and I would have no idea. Scrolling, Tyler Rodeo 8846 says, January 6th doesn't matter because it was so long ago, but the BLM riots also matter. I know, that was so silly. That was so silly. Subry Keller says, I'm dead. Happy Veterans Day, I guess. Thank you. Thank you. I had an excellent Veterans Day. The wife took it easy on me today. The wife allowed me to sleep in, number 1, which was awesome. Number 2, I had to take care of the kids during the day because she had like an appointment. So I took care of the kids during the day. Then after that, I was allowed to take a nap while my oldest son went to karate, which was awesome. And then I was allowed to come and do this beautiful debate with you fine folk. So realistically, my life is good because I got to sleep twice. It's funny how priorities change as you get older. Like sleeping in becomes a delicious treat. Patriarch says they were throwing priests from the rooftops during the Red Terror. Yeah, exactly. Like anti-theistic communism was pretty fucking violent and it was anti-religious. Mill 99 says, con man, all you do is complain, lol. Well, I'm Irish. It's genetic. So sorry. If you don't like the content, don't watch it. There's an easy solution. Big Mex says based polls. There fixed my name. That's cool. Ataraxia says, I was talking more about the justification, but yeah, abolishing religion doesn't also abolish violence. Yes. Patriarch says flexing that sleep. Shake my head. I know. It was great. It was great. Quick shout out to everybody that donated tonight. Charlie November, thank you. Gentleman Damon, Old Fearmonger, Dangus McBongus, which must be the alt of Dingus McBingus. Dice 5226, the master of the frets, Big Leafy Tree. The Tribe donated twice. Thank you, the Tribe. Mill said, hey, I had your back. Oh, okay. Didn't know if that was a criticism or a descriptive observation. Last Coyote says people who think they're too smart for religion turn their political beliefs into a religion is what the Nietzschean meant when he wrote The Death of God. True. I have a morning meeting in 2.5 hours. Jesus, Brock. Go to bed. Big Leafy Tree says, I'm military early in my career, and the thing I've learned so far is sleep is sacred. I don't think solely an oldie thing. Good, Big Leafy Tree. Good to have a not just a veteran, but good to have somebody who's actively serving in chat. Jesse is that a sheep or a rat or a mouse? I don't know what that is. Grey Jedi says, Connor's life sounds base. My wife just used my balls as a speed bag on days like this. Bro. Listen, she let me sleep today, but you better believe it's a rat. For Jesse, he seems like a nice guy. He just kind of seems dumb. And I'm really not trying to be too mean about that, but him being like, oh, well, I can't comment on the Revolutionary War. I don't know anything about things that happened 300 years ago. I'm sorry. Do you live in a free society? Do you like freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, right to self-defense, and limited government? Do you like all the things? Do you like America? If you like America, then you should probably be supportive of the Revolutionary War for America. Like, that shouldn't be that big of a stretch. He's not a nice guy. He's as dumb as Mill. That is vile. Okay, this is a family show. Okay, what you just said is vile. I disavow. Games are for kids 91 says, Anonymous here. Thanks for taking psychic damage for all of us. That was painful. I'll see you in the morning, boss. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you for the 20. I parasocially love you. And thank you for the financial support, bud. Thank you for oiling along with everybody else who oiled tonight. Wordsmith Andy says, still getting a kick out of people during these debates saying Connor is a Dem, drives home the point that Republicans have lost their damn minds. Listen. I accept it to some degree because Republican has become synonymous with deriding Trump. Okay, that it's just become synonymous with Trump sycophant. However, what's cool about this time, and I feel it, I feel the Republican Party ideologically cracking. What's interesting about it is not only is the Epstein files a Damocles blade hanging over Trump. I don't know if I'm using Damocles blade properly, but not only is the Epstein files a Damocles blade hanging over the Trump administration, but effectively Trump's like term and the political backlash against him has been so bad that the Republicans are making calculated political bets on how much they think they should be a Trump simp. Because if they're too much of a simp and then Trump totally shits the bed this admin, they're going to look like stupid assholes by the end of the term. Whereas if they kind of distance themselves a little bit, then they can say, oh yeah, you know, like I voted for Trump for this, this, and this reason. I think he did this, this, and this right. But realistically, here are his flaws. And they can kind of do like a more nuanced perspective. So them just the anybody who being critical of Trump just being a liberal or a leftist, that's not hitting as hard as it used to. And I'm kind of excited about that. I can smell change in the air. Cause and Effect says Valor Media will always be hilarious. A bunch of highbrow programming and your tard wrangling on live. It's like an office building with a pub in the back. It is. It is. We'll see how next year goes out. Okay, so Mill 59s said this, and I disavow. Okay, that is so rude. A lot of MMA guys have low IQ. Yeah, but at the same time, if you are high up in MMA, I just assume that you can turn people into pretzels. What's weird is whoever that MMA guy in the chat, not Jesse, but whoever was like, hey, I want to fight Connor. I'll fight anybody. Like I'll spar anyone. However, I do expect people with a strong wrestling background and a strong BJJ background to be able to wrap me up into pretzels. I borderline need to start in a standing sparring position and be able to strike in order to do anything cool. If we start on the ground, I've wrestled enough wrestlers that I know that wrestlers are vicious pit bull twats. Quickly crap your pants. I've seen you before, but I love your handle. That's awesome. The Cooley dude is a disgrace to men with beards. True. He has an excellent beard. Mill said, I'm sorry, but I had your back. You have to be wild with Jesse. Okay, no problem, bro. I'm mostly joking. Big Mac says, yeah, boy, neo-Nazis get fucked. Neo-Christo-fascists get fudged. True. Okay, you guys are responding to each other. Subry Keller says they'll come up with an excuse for why the Epstein files don't matter as soon as it's released and we see that Trump is all over it because it's a cult. Yeah, but I think that people are doing an estimation for how much they want to tie their political capital to Trump because they know that he's term limited and he's not running a third term. What was it? Mike Johnson said, hey, we've had a bunch of conversations with the president. They've been funny, but realistically, he's going to leave office in 2028. That effectively tells me that even the biggest Trump sycophants who are sweeping the Epstein files, that pretty much tells me he's not running for a third term. He's not going to be staying in office. There's not going to be another January 6th. It's over. When it's over, it's over. When the Republicans get stomped in the midterms, and then when Donald Trump leaves office, that's it. They can have Vance. They can have Vivek Ramaswamy. They can have some people try to pull off right-wing populism, but I don't think that there will be another Republican leader who has the cult of personality that Donald Trump has. And so as a result, they could win. They're not going to implement as insane of an agenda as Donald Trump did. Wordsmith Andy says, that's it. I'm naming my future motorcycle club the D-Riders. MTG attacking Trump is crazy work. Well, dude, she might be a schizophrenic, but she might actually have principles, weirdly enough. Cause and Effect says it's sad that Republicans will only look like assholes when they all collaborated with an authoritarian who hates human rights. Yeah. Yep. Mill said, I'm sorry, I'm rude. It's okay. I'm rude too. I just try to put limits on my rudeness. That's all. Bud123 is very proud. Are you in Michigan? You're in some place in the northern Midwest, right? He said that he saw a saw an aurora today and that it was beautiful and that I need to make my way up north. 10 Train says your level of engagement with chat is pretty awesome. Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I try. Okay. The way that I'm not the best streamer. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. But the way that I do it is I pick a segment, I react to it. I try to pay attention to what's going on. Every 3 to 5 minutes, I try to pause and react to what's going on. But I'm also scrolling through chat the entire time. And like every half dozen to a dozen quotes or something, there'll be something that's like really funny or really interesting or actually insightful, or it's responding to what I'm saying. And I try to highlight that. And I think we've built like a cool flow. Now, if you are used to Destiny or Chud Logic or a bigger streamer, and you're not used to a substantive amount of response, like not coming just from super chats, but actually coming from the chat itself, you might not be used to my flow. But I actually I like our flow. I've watched a few VODs. I like it. Anonymous says, I'm in Kentucky. Don't think it was supposed to come this far down. Oh, wow. Damn. Aurora as far south as Kentucky? That's crazy. Mill says, Connor was speaking facts. Jesse was going on Google. It doesn't work like that. Cause and Effect says, BJJ is a subtle art of folding clothes with people still inside them. I love that. Words with Andy says, I'm not fighting anyone anymore unless I have no choice. I'm getting old. I can, but I won't. Well, the only thing is you just got to be nice to my neck. That's the only thing. Jesse is a wussy boy who follows weak, pathetic men. I wouldn't go that far. You're being mean again. Wordsmith Andy says, when they confirm Trump's a pedo with the Epstein files, they still won't care. I know, but then you can just call him a pedophile and dismiss him, which is going to be great. Ataraxia says the new congressman is getting sworn in. Hopefully there will be some work on releasing the Epstein files. I hope so. So guys, what I've heard, and I hope I'm right on this, I hope that we're watching a VOD. I hope that we're watching a VOD next year. And I hope that they release the Epstein files. Allegedly, okay? The Wolf guy said that these exist, that there are pictures of Donald Trump with young nude women, and he didn't know how old they were. People have said that as a part of the Epstein files, there are photos, and that's what the biographer said, but he didn't go so far as to say he knew they were underage, he knew who they were, et cetera, et cetera. A news article, which I don't know if it's true or not, said that unnamed sources within the DOJ have said that the reason why the Epstein files are not coming out is because it's so bad for Trump, because he knows that the aesthetics of having young teenage girls, probably aged 14 to 17, nude, sitting in his lap, either in New York or in Lolita Island, it's so bad that they can't let it get out. And that's why it's getting wrapped up. But if they're saying that, and if they're electing that new congressman who might put it out there, I have a feeling that they're kind of warming up the waters in order to release this shit. I'm praying that within the next year, they're going to release that. And then basically we can take those photos and we can just smash it into the fucking face of every Trump sycophant who ever existed ever. Like Rob Knorr, who is it? That other dumbass, I always forget his name. Gibbs, Lecture Fan. I don't even know if he's around anymore, but he was a huge Trump dick sucker back in the day. Ben Shapiro for sweeping for this entire thing. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson actually said that, like, oh, I can't wait for Trump to lose. I hate talking about him. He's so fucking annoying. I can't wait for this election to be over. Everybody's lying about everything. I can't wait for, Tucker be like, oh, Tucker, you fucking swept for this shit, you fucking piece of shit. Can't wait for that. Even if they still sweep past it, it'll be cathartic to call every MAGA person a pedophile for the next 5 decades. It'll be great. Cause and Effect says, it should be seen as more serious that Republicans blocked the release of the Matt Gaetz files when they knew that he was raping teenage prostitutes. So, and that's the thing, it's like statutory rape, right? I think it was voluntary, but he actually flew up 17-year-old girls to New York to go to a Broadway play with them, knowing that they were underage and had sex with them. And that's who they wanted to appoint as the Attorney General of the United States. Yeah, that was fucking crazy. Unork says, I think there's a group near him that'll try to cheat in the midterms and later. Yeah, okay, well, we'll deal with that when we get to it. Big Mac says, probably just let him ride out of senility and let him tank their reputation even harder. Probably. The Bannon group? Yeah, but I don't think Bannon has as much power as he used to. As a matter of fact, you could go check a Bannon speech recently. Bannon was saying, hey, if Trump, if MAGA loses after Trump, I'm going to jail or prison. Awesome. I'm happy he feels that way. Shortium says, I truly wish I had your confidence. Trump has tried to coup the government multiple times, and I don't see why it's so crazy to think he would try again. He might, but I don't think he's going to succeed. I think January 6, 2021 was probably his biggest shot. I don't think it's going to work again. Jonah says MTG wanted to run for Senate and Trump said no. That's why she's been bucking him lately. Based. MTG is actually killing it right now. It's weird to say. She's a schizo and she believes in conspiracy theories, but I don't. That's fine. If a schizo conspiracy theorist says the right things and they're pushing in the right direction, good for them. Patriarch says keep the parasocialness to a maximum. I mean, it is, but I kind of get to know you guys after a while too. Mr. S says, just woke up where I live. Going to go see a giant lake today. Everyone have a good stream and good day. Well, thank you, Mr. S. Thank you for dropping by. Darko says, Destiny even ignores my donos. Feels. I know. He's so big that he probably makes so much off of ad revenue. Although I do think his AdSense is gone now. I don't know if he got it back and just didn't say anything. But I'm sure that he made so much money just chilling, having 4,000 people live. It's probably impossible to keep up with super chats, let alone keep up with the stream. Grey Jedi says, I think you could do something like Phil DeFranco where you toy react to the news. Yeah, I probably could. Dude, I have endless content that I want to do. I just need to... I need the content that I already do to get to such a level of momentum that I don't have to worry about what I'm doing the next day. And then once I'm there, then I can diversify. But I want to make sure that we have enough momentum that we're going in the right direction. And we are going in the right direction. But if we were an airplane, I would have said the first 3 months, we were just gaining speed. Then I would say probably as recent as September, we were lifting off and our rear wheels were still on the ground. And what I would say where we're at right now, our rear wheels are off of the ground, but that kind of like shutter, that little shutter when the plane's taking off as the plane actually leaves the ground and it's only like a few, like 50 feet or 100 feet above the airport. That's where we're at right now. So we've successfully taken off. We have lift. We're doing good. We're getting into the sky. But I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we made it. And then whoop, like right into the ground. Like I want to keep pushing so we can reach a cruising altitude. Anonymous says, I just bruised my sternum and cracked a rib getting thrown down in a fight in a drunken escapade with a friend. That's with 10 years of wrestling, BJJ, judo. Dude, I seriously think that half of my issues are in my sternum. I know I say it's in my shoulder, my neck, but when I keep stretching, things in my sternum and my ribs keep cracking, which is terrifying. Wordsmith Andy says, the MAGA to pedo pipeline is coming. I hope so. I'm also getting too old for that stuff. True. Patriarch, Europe based. Shortium says Trump used to sneak into the Teen Miss America contest locker room. Not surprising that there would be pictures. Right. And dude, that's the thing. That's what I was trying to point out to Cooley and Jesse and whatever. It's like, it's seriously the SpongeBob meme, man. It's the SpongeBob meme where that Devil Ray character, I forget his name, is showing Patrick like a wallet. And he's like, this makes sense, right? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, this makes sense, right? And they're like, yeah. And then like, this makes sense, right? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, so therefore this. And then Patrick is like, no. And that's how I feel talking to MAGA about January 6, 2021 is about. It's like, okay, so there's evidence of outcome determinative fraud. And they're like, yes. And they're like, Donald Trump has had 6 years to prove it. Yes. Therefore, the Republic was overthrown. And January 6, 2021, the attempt to pressure Mike Pence to vacate the vote was morally justified. And they're like, whoa. And they want to live in both worlds simultaneously. They want to live in a world where they didn't try to overthrow the government, but they would be justified if they had. And that's like, I can't believe the level of cognitive dissonance that you would need to have if you thought that was true. Like, I think you're genuinely either like stupid or thoughtless or delusional or biased. Like, I don't know what to do about that. Ataraxia says he's on the flight logs, man. The Cope denying it is insane. I know. Quick Crap Your Pants says, even if there's no crime, he definitely is in the files. Bruh is spooked. True. Big Mac says, do you think the Republicans that were going to go along with Trump on removing the filibuster are also complicit? No, No, I'm sure there's tons of powerful people who are in the Epstein files, but I do think that it is a sweeping thing where they know that if Trump goes down, so much Republican political momentum is built around Trump. They understand that the party is going to take such a swift kick to the dick that it'll probably take years to recover. Subry says the dude was creepy and somehow people said, fudge it. We're going to elect this dude who somehow bankrupted a casino multiple times. Well, he did bankrupt the casino. That way Harrah's would sell their stake in the casino. That way he could take over full ownership of the casino. But I know what you're saying. Subry says, and the Party for Family Values did that is the really crazy stuff. I know. Rob will say it's the deep state or some stuff. No. Weirdly enough, Rob's already distancing himself because Trump hasn't done enough Trump things. So that's actually Rob's play. Rob's play is Trump is bad, but not because he's like stupid, incompetent, and a phoebophilic rapist. It's none of that. It's because Trump didn't do enough of what Trump promised he would do. It's amazing. Yeah, Wordsmith Andy says Rob Norrell talk about Biden sniffing. I know. Dr. Darko says, what, a guy can't hang out with pretty women anymore? That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do for real. Gavin McInnes already did it, man. If you watch that Pisco debate with Gavin McInnes, that thing was crazy because Gavin McInnes was like, oh yeah, he hooked up with some underage girls. Who gives a shit? And it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Don't you have daughters? What's wrong with you? Big Mac says, you want America to go left so you can be on the right and not be crazy. For fucking real, though. Yeah. A lot of MAGA think that Bannon is a gross weirdo at this point. Yep. Yeah. Bannon does not have as much power as he used to. Cause and Effect says, Matt Gaetz was doing it statutory, still morally reprehensible to pay high schoolers for sex and then try to hide it. I can't believe that they did that. How can they sleep at night? Oh, yeah. There's nothing. There's nothing. I can't even pretend to make excuses for these people. Dr. Darko says he has not gotten it back. Still another 40 days. True. Scarlet Sins. I don't know how you have the patience to debate with idiots, Connor. Mad respect. Well, thank you, Scarlet Sins. I appreciate you. Nice PFP, by the way. Is that you or is that just your favorite actress? Oh, geez. MTG and Tucker and Shapiro occasionally painting in good directions is more frustrating because it shows that they have the ability to do good work. They just choose to be demons 90% of the time. I know. I'm happy that Ben is finally calling out bullshit, but isn't it way too little, way too late? That's how I feel about it. He's way too little, way too late for him to have any kind of moral credibility whatsoever. Quickly Crap Your Pants says she's on spite mode against Trump based in Giga Stacy build. I'll take it. You can do the right thing for the wrong reasons, and I won't care. Dank Jesus says, let me put it this way. I gave you $1 and I've never donated to Destiny. Laugh my ass off. I wish I had more to give you. Want to show appreciation. Well, thanks for hanging out, man. The watching VODs, liking VODs, commenting on VODs, that helps out too. And then obviously if you got $1 or $2 or $5 or $10, it all adds up. We got some excellent oilers who oil the stream. And Patriarch, Grassroots Hegemon, Christian Valeris, they're incredibly kind to the channel. And then we do have a lot of people who do like 5s and 10s every now and then. And it's seriously appreciated. I couldn't do this without you guys. And I will try to remain. I'm not even going to try to remain. I will. A bunch of bills popped up. I have things that I need to pay, blah, 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 excuse. But the goal is still this is a monitor. This camera has a teleprompter that counts as a monitor in front of it. I have a monitor over here. I want to buy 2 vertical monitors, and I want to put a vertical monitor right here and a vertical monitor right here. And I want to have the chat that is historic that I'm clicking through and scrolling through like I'm doing right now. And then I want to have the live chat. That way, when I'm like muted or being an idiot or somebody says something that's specific to what's going on right now, I could respond to live chat, old chat, and have my stream. So it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a project. But realistically, I will get it done. I also need my Bob Ross wig. Cause and Effect says the irony that Trump is losing the confidence of his party before Chuck Schumer. I know. Trump might die before Biden. That'd be so based. Quickly Crap Your Pants says, little even time buzz Connor is great. I'm usually waking up grumpy right along with y'all. Good. I'm happy that my grumpiness and my chat's grumpiness as we wake up and attack the day gives you life. Rudy said he had the right to lie about the election to a judge. Yeah, what a fucking idiot, by the way. Charlie November said the biggest insult we could do to Trump is to remove his name from the annals of history. I know, but we never will because we need to remember. Bud123 says, is this your wallet? No, it has your ID in it. No, if your name is Patrick and your ID is in this wallet, then it would make sense that it's your wallet. Then that makes sense. So take it. No, it's not my wallet. That is debating a MAGA person about January 6th. During January 6th, all the Trump supporters were calling it a revolution. They wanted more. I know. Can you imagine if Obama was on the line for pedo shit? Could you imagine if Obama did January 6th? People would be trying to kill him actively. Patriarch says he's a libertarian. Okay. All right. I'm a communitarian. Okay. I think that there is society and I think that there are individuals. I think that our society is good because it says that the individual has rights that cannot be violated. I think that is an excellent place to start. The reason why libertarians lose me is not because there aren't principled libertarians who say that you have community responsibilities, but there are libertarians who are anarcho-capitalists who seriously think that if you impose duties on other people, then that means that you are doing some kind of like grievous moral horror that supersedes every other moral horror. And I think that kind of anarcho-capitalist libertarianism is cringe as fuck. I think it's stupid as fuck. I think it's inhuman. I don't think it has anything to do with the human experience. And their obsession with like individual rights to the point that they say, oh, well, if a parent doesn't want to take care of their newborn child, then if they find another person to take over their child, that's actually kind of like a morally neutral thing. I think they're a fucking idiot. I had that argument. I think that I had that argument with Fabian Liberty. And the reason why they thought that that was morally neutral is because if the parent didn't want the responsibility of taking care of their newborn child, and if a stranger wanted the responsibility of taking on their child, then it's morally neutral. I think that's so unbelievably inhuman and stupid. And so my problem with libertarianism is not the philosophy. My problem with libertarianism is libertarians. Excuse me. Somebody Keller says, does that make Rob evil? He refused to acknowledge all the bad stuff this man has done and say that things that he hasn't done been evil enough. That is evil, right? Well, he thinks it's good, right? Scarlett says, over time will convert you to becoming a dirty liberal like us. Well, you probably should not. You should probably not listen to my Bonnie Blue takes. I think that Bonnie Blue should be involuntarily committed to a fucking insane asylum and given drugs and therapy by the state. Cause and Effect says, you don't have to identify philosophically as a Democrat, but I'm glad that you are principled enough to recognize that Republicans basically use morals for branding and run deficits. It's crazy. Capital Science says, if it's wrong for all these people to sweep for Trump, why is it not wrong for you to sweep for Destiny? Because I don't sweep for Destiny, Capital Science. I don't. Here you go. You know what frustrates me is I've never had a single person actually take me up on this, okay? Let me go here. Capital Science, I hope you're still here. So I have a video that summarizes my ideological difference between myself and DGG. I have, I think, a pretty astute summary of the Destiny drama. I think I have a pretty accurate description of everything that he's been accused of. And I think I have pretty astute, like, moral prescriptions and criticisms. And I've said these things to Stephen's face. And I've said it publicly, repeatedly. Sweeping, for those of you who don't know, sweeping is sweeping under the rug. Okay? That means that you are taking a problem and you are hiding it from the public. And that is what I think that people are doing for Donald Trump. They're taking the Epstein files and they're obscuring it from the public because they don't want it to hurt the public reputation of the person that they care about or the person that they're using for political or social power. I've never swept Stephen's sins. I know Stephen's sins. I've criticized Stephen's sins. Where is it? Let me find it. I'm going to take the time to find it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. The Destiny mind maps. So here, if you're actually still here, capital science, copy link. Here's a link to a video. I would like you to watch it. It is only the Destiny relevant parts are 15 minutes. I would like it if you watched that video and if you told me what you disagreed with. I have offered this to dozens of people who say that, like, I'm the biggest Destiny orbiter shill. I'm a part of the Destiny defense squad. I cover up his crimes, all that kind of stuff. I've told like a dozen people to check that out and tell me what they think is wrong. No one's taking me up on it. No one's taking me up on what they thought I got wrong. Cause and effect says, even as Ben Shapiro calls out the right. Oh, Cicero. Sorry, I'll say this because I've seen Cicero before. Connor wants that Destiny monitor set up. I do. Cause and effect says, even as Ben Shapiro calls out the right, his line is the same as anti-Semitism, not authoritarianism. I wonder if he realizes that allowing one makes the other one easier. He probably does. Unfortunately, he's smart enough to understand. Nerdity says, happy Veterans Day, good sir. Hope you are well. I am. I hope you're as well as well. Wordsmith Andy says, all these Republican 180s are coming after Republicans got rolled in the most recent elections. Is it a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. Or some Republicans finally realizing the party is fucked after Trump. I think it's both. Quickly Crap Your Pants says, see you wankers in the morning. Sleep safe, stay tight. Thank you. Patriarch, but yeah, that's all true. Boondoggle My Congo says, I think it's unlikely, but the Groypers start significantly putting deep roots into the Republican Party. Will you still consider yourself a member? Not of the party. Not of the party. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've been thinking about maybe I would still say I am philosophically a Republican. I believe in a republic. I believe in rule of law. I believe in this. I believe in that. But I cannot in good conscience vote for the Republican Party as it currently exists. Therefore, I will register and vote as a Democrat. I've thought about that. I'm hoping that Nick Fuentes, I'm hoping that there's a backlash to Trump. I'm hoping there's a backlash to Fuentes. And I'm hoping that we wake up from this fever dream that has been Trumpism. Now, I'm skeptical, but I'm going to fight the good fight until I die. Maybe. Probably. Dice5226 says, I'm kind of bummed how both the women in this panel had zero understanding of what separates righteous violence from violence, parties aside. Yeah. Mill says, how much money do you need for new screens for the live streaming? We probably have enough money, but I was taking a look at it and there was other stuff I wanted to do. So I spent the money on like ammo and my bolter and my Halo Magnum. That's what I spent money on first because I'm a fucking idiot. Realistically, I probably do have enough money from last month in order to buy the monitor, so I might be able to get it on the 20th. But if you're just asking for a rough dollar amount, I was seeing vertical monitors of decent quality for around $100. So it would be $100 per monitor. So I would need $200 for that. And then I saw a dual mounting system that I think would wrap around my camera. Like I could put it immediately underneath my camera, and then the arms actually stretch out far enough that I could put this one. And that was around $300. Now, if you don't have, or excuse me, the mounting system was like another $60. So it's like $260, add in taxes, probably $300. Now, if you have $300 and you're a rich person and you have a trust fund and all that kind of stuff, and you just want to super chat me $300, I'm not going to complain. If you're just asking in general, though, don't worry about it. We're making good money. Life is good. It is a priority for me. I love my chat. I love streaming. I want this to be my job. I want this to be my career. Whatever extra money I have, the next extra money I have will be going towards a Bob Ross wig, monitors, and an arm. I spent money on the gun stuff because I want to do the gun stuff first, but I'm realizing that I'm spending too much money on gun stuff and I'm not getting a good return on investment. So I need to focus on the digital media business first, so I'm making enough money that gun stuff is not financially stressful. Also, I should probably, like, I don't know, maybe pay my student loans sometimes. Very hard to identify with the label right now. Yes. Arrow says, nice hair. Thank you. Thank you. I'm almost 40. I did thin out a little bit. My wife says that I didn't, but I think she's lying to me to not hurt my feelings. I'm a little thin in the crown, and my hair is thinner than it used to be. I know it is. She can keep lying to me. But even though my hair is thinner than when I was 19, I still think I have a good head of hair. So thank you for the compliment. Sue says, it's personally immoral for their parents. It's a societal good since the kid is being raised where they are wanted. But I would culturally and morally bully the parents to stop being pussies and take care of their kids. Cause and effects is hard facts, and narco-capitalism is a child's theory of rights. Taxes are not theft. They are membership fees, and we all had 18 years to decide to consent. Sure. Rise of the enlightened centrist, I pray. Don't say anything about our queen. Wordsmith, Bonnie Blue. Wordsmith Andy says that's most of them they interacted with. The taxation is akin to slavery type shit. There is no incentive or plan to take care of your community unless you feel like it. Yeah, dude. Libertarianism, principally, ideologically, is fine. I wish I could live in a libertarian society. I wish we could pay minimal taxes, and we could maintain a security establishment to maintain international trade, maintain a competent military, and maintain law enforcement and first response that responded to people's needs. And besides that, I wish that we could privately negotiate wages and labor and benefits to the point that the working class had dignified lives, the middle class had dignified lives with lots of toys and fun, and the upper class made so much money that they did not care about anything. And they were effectively like a luxury class that was competent at guiding institutions. And there was a meritocratic tinge to the upper giga wealthy people. Unfortunately, what I've been finding is that the working class does not have a dignified life. The middle class is becoming increasingly small with less and less toys and less freedom. And then the upper class, no offense to the upper class, is filled with incompetent dickhead piece of shit morons who don't know shit about fuck, but they either lucked into what they were doing or they did one awesome thing 2 or 3 decades ago, and they've been riding that wave financially ever since. And so, yeah, I wish I could live in a libertarian society. I just can't. I just can't. People are too flawed. We need a competent state to regulate our negative impulses. Jonas says, Bonnie Blue, hero to incels or menace to society? That's the next debate topic for sure. Subry Keller says, I've known too many swingers or too many on too many bases to judge people. That's for the UCMJ. That ain't my gig. Well, right. I'm not talking about legalistically. I'm talking about culturally. Big Mac says, you're the Lehman Russ to his Lionel Johnson. Keck. Maybe. Sapien Green says, frankly, it's impossible to think of any public figure who has done more shit than Trump, and he's not even halfway through his term. I know. I'm saying that as a bad thing, not as a good thing. Michael Stank 831 says, do you think the federal government should provide free birth control? It saves like $3 for everyone spent. Saves $3. Saves $3 in what way? What way? Because we're kind of having a demographic issue right now. So I'm curious how we're saving that money. Unork says, I'll know when we are in a sane world again when I start seeing you as a political rival based. And also with the birth control thing, I think that we should offer free sterilization to people probably aged 25 and older, right? Because when you're 18, you're still an idiot. And so there's plenty of women. There's plenty of women who say that they never want kids and they change their minds in their middle 20s, late 30s. However, there's so many stupid pieces of shit who should be sterilized that if there was like a voluntary sterilization program after 25 that was subsidized by the state, and as a result, we got to like eliminate dog shit people from the population, not by killing them. They're still around. They're playing Xbox. They're eating Taco Bell. I love playing Xbox and eating Taco Bell, by the way. That's not a dig on Xbox or Taco Bell. But they're just playing Xbox and playing Taco Bell, and then one day they die, and they're no longer a part of the human species. I think that would be an okay way to get rid of the refuse. Sorry if that's too eugenic for you, but that's the way that I feel. Scarlett says, someone please super chat Connor $300. Don't worry. I have plenty of Oilers. They take care of me. They really do. Boondoggle My Congo says, also just wanted to add, great showing, my man. Thank you. Your tech is so cheap in the US. Kind of is. Sue9788 says, you're principally a thing, so you join the side that is against your principles because the side that you thought supported your principles abandoned them. Come on, man. Sue9788, you're principally a thing, so you join the side that is against your principles because the side that you supported your principles abandoned them. Come on, man. Once again, I don't think you're familiar with my content. So I would recommend engaging with more of my content. I don't think I've changed my principles at all. I'm for American power on the international stage. Democrats are more for that than the Republicans are at this point. I am for, I'm trying to think of what else realistically I align with Democrats on. I am for mixed economy capitalism. And unfortunately, Donald Trump is more of an economic protectionist than the Democrats are at that point. That's a crazy sentence to say. That's a crazy sentence to say. It is so bad. It is so bad. I'm anti-ephemophilic rape. Unfortunately, the Democrats are less ephemophilic rapists than the MAGA movement right now. Yeah. Subry Keller says, why do you have student loans? Did you use your GI Bill and didn't finish up? No, I got my bachelor's degree. It did take me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree. The bachelor, so my GI Bill, and I'm very thankful for the GI Bill. What the GI Bill covered for me was 100% tuition at a state university. So my tuition was paid for my bachelor's degree. And then I think I was entitled to $1,400 per month. Okay. But I did not live with my parents while I went to school. My parents were in South Florida. I was in Central Florida. I went to a school in Central Florida, so I didn't have anybody to live with. So my rent was $500, $600. It was $500 when I was living someplace. It was $600 that I was living someplace. That's $1,400. And then out of $1,400, that leaves me $800. Assuming that I did $500 on groceries, then that leaves me $300. And then I had a cell phone, I had a car, I had insurance, and I didn't just want to live at the apartment. So I worked a full-time job the entire time I went to school. And then, of course, that brought in $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And as a result, I was able to live like not just at my apartment and not just at school. It took me, because I was working full-time in order to make ends meet, because shit was expensive, I did end up taking 5 years to get my bachelor's degree. So I had to take out student loans for my last year of school. So Scarlett says, a good head of hair without minoxidil. Yeah, I haven't taken anything. Big Leafy Tree says, I hope your wife says your hair is the same as it always was when you straight up cue ball. She's a sweet lady. Sometimes she's a sweet lady. Bud says, I'm starting to go bald and I'm 27. I typically grow out my hair a bit to pretend that I'm not going bald. I would just Bruce Willis it. Just buzz that shit, bro. Ataraxia says that whole taxation theft stuff is so cringe. It's completely voluntary. Nobody is forcing you to be here and pay taxes. Feel free to go to Somalia where there are no taxes in minimal state. I mean, I say that. They don't like it when I say that, but I say that. Dubious Gal says, they say by the time you notice you've lost your hair, you've lost a lot more than you think. Minoxidil is cheap and easy. Yeah, but dude, if I actually start losing, I don't think I am. I think my hair just thinned a little bit. I don't think I'm losing my hair. I think I just thinned. I don't want to take pills. I want to Bruce Willis that shit. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with Bruce Willis was an action hero who was bald, and he kind of redefined beauty for bald men for a long time. And all he did was he just took a pair of clippers and he just cut his hair every 2 to 3 days. And so you could see that he was bald, but he just had short hair. There was nothing wrong with it. It looked good. He was a handsome man. Big Mix says, I actually like bald with a beard. I think that actually looks good. Pardoning the different scammer fucks is some real madness. Like, goddamn, true. We didn't even bring up crypto so far tonight. Bud123 says, nah, one day I will shave my head bald like Squidward. Free, mandatory? If I said mandatory, my apologies. I meant free. My BF got a hair transplant this year. I just shave. Unless he's got like a weird shaped head. Wordsmith Andy says, the libertarian stuff made me think of the recent story about a TikToker pretending to be needy mom, calling megachurches for help and getting turned down. I don't know all the details, but it sounded interesting. Yeah. I did that when I was in the insurance industry. In the insurance industry, I called a bunch of churches and Boy Scout troops looking for volunteers to help out people who had flooded basements. And it was very, very difficult to find people who were willing to volunteer to help out their community members, even places that claim to help out their community members. I had a church call me back and ask if they were a parishioner. And I was like, no, they're not a parishioner, but they're 2 blocks away from your house. What the fuck? That's crazy. Who won? More violent left or right? I mean, I think I won the debate, obviously. But my argument was the left wing engages in statistically more violence if you include property damage, but the right wing is more competent at murderous violence and maiming and killing people. And I think that's borne out by statistics. Wordsmith Andy says, I'm in the same boat. Don't know if I'll ever be able to afford my student loans because that investment is definitely not paying for itself. Whoops. Whoops. Yeah. Your hair looks great for 30 plus, brother. Don't do shit. You'll have hair when you're way older. Thanks. Big Leafy Tree says, incorrect. Michael Jordan did way more for my bald comrades than Bruce Willis. Yeah, but black dudes look good with shaved heads anyways. So no, black dudes are cheating in a variety of degrees. I legit just like having long hair. Take drugs. I don't give a fuck. Ataraxia says, finasteride is the pill. Minoxidil is topical. Both have worked wonders for me. I started losing patches around 25. Oh, okay. Good to know. Wordsmith Andy says, damn, that's sad as fuck that no one was willing to help. You know what? That's the world. We all gotta make it happen. Jonas says the Pell Grant paid for nearly all of my college. Pell helped a lot for sure. And I did work full time as well. So I was probably not the greatest with money, but I was in college, man. I wanted to drink. I wanted to hang out with young people. I wanted to have a good time. You know, I wanted to eat fast food. I wanted to play video games. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And I don't regret shit, by the way. I don't regret a single fucking thing. If I had to live my life over again, there's maybe 1 or 2 things that I would legitimately change, but I actually don't regret the way that I spent my time. The way that I spent my time was great. And I when I'm on my deathbed, I want to not regret. I don't want to regret working so hard that I did not live my life. I don't want to not work hard enough so I don't get the things that I want. And I want to be a good father and a good community member. And trying to balance work, individual goals, family life, and community is easier said than done. It's a lot easier said than done. Ataraxia says, I don't agree with Patriarch. If you're perfectly free to leave, it's a voluntary decision to stay and pay taxes. Those taxes pay for the state. If you don't want to pay the taxes, don't have the state protect you. I think the reason why the libertarians object to that is because if you do try to go into the woods, like let's say you just try to move to Alaska, like rural Alaska, you buy a plot of land, you get a generator, you get solar, you try to stay there, live there or whatever. Even in rural Alaska, eventually the county will come out and give you shit for not building to code or not hooking up to the county sewer or dumping, car batteries, in some like random, wherever you dump car batteries, they'll give you shit about something and they'll fine you for it and they'll expect you to pay property taxes. So the whole point of that I think that we're getting at is that, libertarians cannot truly escape the state in the United States, even in an ideal situation. Also, oftentimes libertarians do want to live in some kind of community. I know that the meme is that they just go become homesteaders in like rural Nowheresville and they live off the land and this, that, the other. But I think realistically, a shitload of them do want to live in a community that shares their values. So they're trying to promote their values. That way they don't have to leave all of humanity and all of humanity's technology. But I also don't think they're doing a good job of convincing anybody that they're correct. Bud123 says, is a 600 calorie surplus good for my bulk in addition to working out 5 to 6 times a week? I still have a low body fat percentage and I'm gaining weight. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. I was ingesting like 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day when I was 19 in order to gain weight. And I went up from like 170 to 200, and breaking 200 was really hard when I was 19. Tia's Phantom says there are some people like Floyd Mayweather that went bald for no reason when they have a full head of hair. Lol, it's freeze you if you ask me. Yeah. You know what I would do? If I was truly losing my hair, which I don't think I am. Again, I think I just went a little bit thin, but I still think I have really good hair. I would do the hair tattoo where you just take a little needle and you just put in what looks like follicles. And I would just give myself like a decent hairline. And then I would just buzz my head every day. That's all I would do. Hair tattoo and a buzz cut. Roaming says 600 is good for moderate and a healthy progression to bulk. Just make sure you're gaining all the nutrients and vitamins. Yeah, watch your macros. I don't even know what macros are, but watch your macros. I'm not arguing in favor of that, by the way, just explaining their argument. For sure. For sure. Cicero says, have you read the story about the libertarian community that got taken over by bears? No, but it makes sense. Alaska has boroughs, not counties. You owned me. Listen to Coheed and Cambria? Absolutely. Good eye sniper. I shoot, you run. Yeah, dude, Coheed was the shit back in the day. What is that? A Favor House Atlantic? My only problem with Coheed is that like a lot of their songs sound very similar to me. That's my only problem with Coheed and Cambria. The one song, which I think is a Favor House Atlantic, is fire. Love Favor House Atlantic. I think my only problem is that the rest of the songs sound similar to Favor House Atlantic. If I was an ANCAP, I would say sounds like racketeering, not protection. True. Louis Ism says, I have long hair and I'm probably not going back to having short hair. Based. Yeah. Your voice got me bricked. My apologies. Well, all right. I am caught up with chat. We had 12 people support the channel tonight. So I want to shout them out again before we wrap up. Boondoggle My Congo, thank you for your 2 super chats. Anonymous Chatter, thank you for your 20. The Tribe, thank you for your 2 super chats. Big Leafy Tree, thank you for the 7. Mastery, the Master of Frets, thank you for the 10. Dice, thank you for the 10. Dungus McBungus, the brother to Dingus McBingus, gave 10, thank you. Old Fearmonger, our Fallujah veteran, became a member. Gentleman Damon gave $5 after they gave us 50 yesterday. Thank you, Gentleman Damon. And then Charlie, November 321, also gifted a membership. Thank you, guys. Alaskan resident, by the way, good evening to you. Oh, good. No World for Tomorrow goes pretty hard. True. Oh, is No World for Tomorrow. Sorry, real quick, Coheed and Cambria reference before we wrap. The song for the movie, is it called 9? I forget. There was this movie. I'll try to pull it up. There was this movie of a post-apocalyptic world where humanity had been wiped out and there were puppets, and the puppets had souls left in them. And the souls, they were the only things that had lived while there was still like a race of animalistic machines that were like killing everything and hunting the little puppets with souls. And it was like a crazy, weird action flick. And they played a Coheed and Cambria song. And I wonder if it's the one that you're talking about. And this movie was messed up, but it was also like fire. And the trailer had Coheed and Cambria. And that's my other Coheed and Cambria favorite song. Da-na-na. I'm not even going to try to do it. I'm just going to listen to the song as soon as I'm done. As soon as I'm done with stream. That's Welcome Home. Nice. Welcome Home. Yeah, that Welcome Home was fire. I know I just said that all Coheed songs sound the same. Welcome Home was awesome. Sue says, I don't think you've abandoned your principles, bro. Been watching a while. Just seems like MAGA frustrated you into an overreaction, in my opinion. As a conservative in the state, your frustration, good showing. Okay, thanks. Yeah, but I am trying to moderate, by the way. I'm looking for more Republicans and more conservatives and more conservatarians and more libertarians who didn't become Trump cultists. That's who I'm looking for. And even the pragmatic people who voted for Trump, you know, there's a part of me that wants to purity test and be like, do you understand how bad this was? Of course, there's a part of me that wants like a sense of like vengeance or justice. But I do think that once Trump is out of office, I'm going to have to be more pragmatic, where I'm going to have to say, yeah, you're kind of an arsler for voting for Trump twice. You're kind of a piece of shit. But realistically, here's the things that we agree on that we can work on together. So, yeah. Dice says, oh my God, that movie gave me nightmares for fucking years. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. I always wanted to watch that movie. It looks dope. Never got around to it. Add it to your list, bro. Add it to your list. All right. Didn't become or are no longer. I don't know what you mean by that. If you're talking about like a Republican or whatever, I grew up Republican. I went to the RNC with my dad when I was a teenager. I was raised by Reaganite conservatives. I considered myself like kind of like a moderate conservative for like a really, really, really long time. Kind of like a conservatarian. Like I didn't give a shit about weed. I loved weed. So probably like a conservatarian, libertarian. And that's who I was and still am largely. I just think that all the principles that my parents raised me with, sorry for going on a rant. I know that I keep saying that I'm going to leave and then I don't leave, but what my parents told me is the Democrats are dumb because they're really well-intentioned. They care about black people. They care about gay people. They care about minorities. They care about immigrants. They care about this. But realistically, oftentimes, if you look at the policies proposed by the Democratic Party, they're poorly thought out. They have perverse incentives. They hurt more than they help. And of course, they had all the talking points in reference like welfare and shit. How welfare is effectively a system that robs people of their independence from the state. And so they effectively become like ideological slaves to the state. And so it is good for free Americans, truly free citizens of the United States of America, to be as independent from the state as possible. And so that means being adventurous. That means being virtuous. That means being entrepreneurial. That means finding your niche. That means pursuing your industry. That means pursuing your ego. That means like pursuing all these higher things. And so the Republican Party, while flawed, does promote family, does promote entrepreneurialism, does promote business, does promote, like fiscal conservatism, like getting the debt under control and reduce taxation. And so if you wanted to be a free man, a truly free man with the state only in your shit when necessary, then you should be a Republican. And not just that, the Democrats, because they're sympathetic to black folk, immigrants, and all that kind of stuff, they can be hostile to the security establishment like the military and law enforcement. And realistically, my family is pretty pro law enforcement, pretty pro military as well. And so for that, it just fit like a glove ideologically. The only thing that really like put me at odds with the Republican Party was in the 2000s, I was an angry pothead. So that's where I would say the conservatarian thing came from, because for those of you who don't remember, they tried to say that marijuana was funding international terrorism. And I was like, how is me buying Northern Lights Canadian marijuana funding jihadist terrorism? That sounds like fucking bullshit. And it was bullshit. Dubious Gal says, I'm considering maybe getting into YouTube discussions, debates, and I'm semi left and closely aligning to you, primarily worried about staying relatively anonymous. Well, you kind of have to give up being anonymous. Sorry. You can become a VTuber. You can go under a pseudonym. Nobody's really tried to dox me. Nobody's really tried to hurt me or kill me or anything. But I'm assuming that my information is out there. I'm assuming people know who I am at this point. I do not align anywhere ideologically, so that makes me a centrist. Based. Taxes are sufficient, but not necessary to drive a currency. Interesting. Are we doing war stories? No, we'll do that. We'll do that next week. I'm going to save my law enforcement war stories for next week. I will go copyright challenge the video that I did last night where I talked about Iraq and combat training war stories. Ataraxia says, need to get a stand for the camera, amigo, attached to your desk, bounces around each time I bump it. It's part of the flavor, friend. Part of the flavor is that I'm a boomer with bad tech instincts. Wordsmith says, I remember I got denied PRP status in the military because I had smoked weed in my younger years, right? Missing the debate because I had to study for an exam, but I'm going to go head out. Happy Veterans Day, and thanks for your service. Becoming from a French veteran, wish the right to return to normalcy. Thank you, Roaming Ronan. That's interesting. A French veteran. Wow. I need to hear more about that. Like Foreign Legion or French Army or French Navy or French Air Force? Did you ever deploy? What? That's crazy. That's a crazy sentence. You'll have to tell me about that sometime. Patriarch says you still need a residence permit, citizenship to move. They value their idea of the NAP above all else, and having to move to another country is not guaranteed, as in you just can't pack your bags. Yep. Big Mac, you want taxes to be able to leverage bulk purchasing power for things that everyone needs. Yes. If I give $35 to AIDS research, that $35 is piss in the wind. if we give $6.5 billion to intentionally run a antiviral campaign, that $6.5 billion is piss in the ocean to the federal government, but it has saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives. And on an individual tax basis, $6.5 billion is the equivalent of like $35 per year per taxpayer. It's actually not that much. And so the bulk purchasing power of pooled taxation is incredible. Saint Pat says, we raised intrepid generals to fight for paper money, invisible lines, and medals. Based. I believe in the... sorry, you're just talking about social constructs. That's all you're saying. You're saying, we fight for social constructs. And it's like, yep. Roman Ronan says French Navy. That's interesting. That's awesome. That's cool. That's very cool. I'm happy that you somehow bumped into my community. Atraxia says, just because it may not be easy doesn't mean it's not a choice you could make. I'm sure of those options, those are fairly easily, but undesirable doesn't mean it's not avoidable. Right. But then you get into like language barriers, you get into familial connections, you get into all that kind of stuff. And realistically, libertarians believe that they are correct, like principally, morally, ideologically. So what most libertarians I know who fight for libertarianism, libertarianism principally, is that they want to convince their neighbors that libertarianism is correct, and then therefore will become more libertarian in society. They're kind of like libertarian evangelicals. Yeah. Bud123 says, I'd be a libertarian, but I'm a statist. Yep. All right, let me read this one, and then I will force myself to rap. Tenhauser says, how do I say harder, faster, aye, sir, in French? Dur, vite. Aye, aye, monsieur. Plus dur, vite. So I didn't share this, Ronan. But Ronan, I lived in Belgium for 3 or 4 years, so I learned French when I was a young man. Dur is hard, and so plus dur, plus means more. Dur is hard. Faster is vite, V-I-T-E. So you could go plus vite, plus dur, plus vite. Aye, monsieur. And I don't know what I would be. But that'd be funny, man. I would love to see French drill instructors. A classical liberal. Yeah, but classical liberalism implies some level of like economic laissez-faire. And I do think that state intervention should be involved at some point. I'm a Rooseveltian, like a Teddy Roosevelt Republican. The government can just print more money, but that money is backed by the production of the entire economy. Correct. Patriarch says, fuck Dave Rubin for ruining that label. Yes. Platoon Daddy says Timothy McVeigh killed 168 people. Right wing has the body count off one guy. Yep. The government doesn't buy things with revenue generated from taxation. I don't know if that's true. Buys all sorts of shit. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, you might be saying like they delete zeros from some random digital file or something, but you understand that like money is a fungible asset. So if they bring in tax revenue and then they delete a certain amount of money from a file of federal revenue, then they print the money and they use that to pay for shit. Money's a fungible asset. So the taxation is still necessary in order to maintain the worthiness of the currency. So. A status of matters like gas, liquid, and solid based. All right. I got to see you guys in a few hours. I took a nap. That's why I took a nap, which is why I'm still up. Okay. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I parasocially love you guys. Thank you to the dozen people who donated tonight. I'll see you in 9 hours. And I hope you guys have a beautiful night. I'll catch you soon. Bye now.